How we doing, people? He's all right. Just bear with me a wee second here. Still get the things up that I require. I still can't believe that there's people who actually still don't get the push aspect. Really, I've just come on there and I've seen idiotic comments yet again. Try pulling a rope up a hill. Try pushing it up a hill. Fucking morons. Absolute morons. Anyway. I'll be there in 2 seconds, people. I just need to open my windows that I require. So, this one, so before I go any further, anybody who's new to this and you're coming across this maybe for the first time, or you're coming across this platform for the first time, flat earth is simply a term that I adopted because it was trending at a time when this question of the earth's shapes was becoming a hot topic. It simply is a refusal of the globe and its claims. That is the stance here. Nobody I know, nobody here claims any map or model to be true. It is absolutely preposterous for people to stand by a model. We're talking about the real world, and exploration is what is required. We as human beings discern what is real by exploring the objective world. We demonstrate things to be true to each other by way of practical demonstration. So when you apply that and that basis of what we call science to the globe, it falls short, way short. Like it didn't even go over the start line. So if you're coming here and you hear the words flat earth and you're coming with a preconceived, preloaded notion that you think you know what it means, I can tell you, you don't. Okay, we don't represent any pizza dish, ice wall, map and model, you know, flat squares floating about the vacuum of space. It's a refusal of the globe and its idiotic religious cult claims. Okay, the globe cannot offer anything practical about any of the claims that it makes in regards to the substance that are part of our objective reality. Things like liquids and their behaviours. You cannot demonstrate or even make it possible for a body of liquid to conform to the exterior of a shape. That means no bending oceans around the exterior of potato rocks. Okay, we understand through a process of being objective and inquiring about the objective world, we understand first and foremost what is required to create a pressure, particularly in a medium like a vacuum or water. What you require in order to achieve any sort of gas pressure in any of those mediums is solid containment, separate from the medium. So when we hear claims that there's wee men in space rockets popping out of our pressurized environment into this vacuous empty space and there's no solid barrier, I know that is bullshit. I don't have to go any further. When I'm talking about science, I'm not talking about an appeal to an institution or an authority or any of that nonsense, consensus, whatever you like. Science belongs to each and every single one of you as the individual. It's about your discernment, using your senses, your critical discernment in order to establish what is true about the objective world. So it's up to you what you accept as being true. If you're a person who wants to suspend your practical, demonstrable, everyday reality experience in favour of an image, that's up to you. Don't come and ask me or tell me I'm crazy because I ignore my objective reality and I don't adopt this image. Preposterous. You don't contort your mind, your senses, your discernment to fit an image. The image that's being depicted to you contradicts objective reality. So right there and then there's a problem. The heliocentric globe cult has a concept, a postulation, an assumption of a globe, and it starts from that assumption and it creates mathematical jargon and long-winded, sophisticated explanations to try and, you know, play down reality and make it fit a nature-defying, wobbly testicle. The globe has no demonstrations of any of its claims. So it's as simple as that. We refuse the globe. The very next port of call is not to adopt cartoon models and maps or any of these things. It's exploration. We have to find out the full dimensions practically. No, sitting still in the middle, coming up with theories and hypotheses. Guesswork. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I understand there's a huge amount of propaganda surrounding this topic and why people adopt these cartoons and think that when you refuse one claim, you have to adopt another. Now remember, that's the stance. I'm coming from the point of view that I was born into this cult. That's what I class it as. And the claim was made and pushed to me, browbeaten into me, and millions upon millions of other vulnerable children, that it was a globe that we lived upon, flying about the vacuum of space. That's the claim that I'm concerned with. As a realist, and I encourage everybody to be a direct realist, you have to understand that it's fine that you assume these things to be true, and when you question them and you try and validate them and you find that you cannot, your stance has to be, you don't know. I can make the claim that the earth is demonstrably level, because it is. That's everybody's direct experience of the earth, that it's level. Okay, so I'm not really going to go too far into that spiel. I'm sure many people have heard it all before, but there's a lot of propaganda and unnecessary bullshit that's attached to this particular topic. And people like myself, people here at this channel, endeavour to, break through a lot of the bullshit. We're not interested in gravity, the way things fall. We're talking about dimensions of the earth. That's where the topic of discussion is. Okay, no red herrings. Thank you very much. So I'm going to have some guests on this evening. I think Eddie Bravo and Eric are going to be joining us. And there's a couple other people who I'm going to send a link to, and hopefully they'll be able to join. So if you just bear with me, I'm going to send these out and then I'll come back to the chat box. Eric, if you're listening, I'm going to send you this on your Facebook thing. And I don't have Eddie there, so Eric, if you hear this and you get that, can you pass it on to Eddie? Just bear with me. I need to go into this here. So people in the chat, open up this conversation. And people in the chat can participate, ask questions, highlight some issues, whatever you like. There's nothing that's out of our limits here on this platform. We're looking for transparency and an openness and a willingness to resolve and discuss whatever has to be discussed. So, right, where am I here? Just bear with me a wee second. I'll come to the chat box. Right, that's that sorted out. I think that's it. So just a wee quick one while I'm on this, coming on to still these idiotic things about the push. We're talking about reality and how objects are put into motion. Now, what we see, even down to things like a cog and chain system, is the whole motion is applying push pressure from one point to the other. So when you push on the pedals, the cog intersects the chain, pushing the chain in that direction. The chain is now pushing on the back cog, forcing it round. Okay, it's very simple. I struggle. There must be trolls. There must be information that they don't like. They don't want people seeing reality from the simplistic stance, from the bottom upwards. So they're quite content with people having faulty concepts in their mind about the reality that they're living in. That's a huge issue for me. This should be a huge issue for any educator, anybody professing that they want to educate and teach children, especially vulnerable. Okay? So we have to make sure that the information that we're passing to each other that is based in factual reality. Anyway. How are we doing, people? Stationary plane, one conscience, mass one. I want to see there in a cage match against a Globetrotter for charity or disabled children. Ugh, anytime. Anytime at all. G1s, Neil McCrop, how you doing? John McVeigh. R Green 216, Richard Heen. Dean Stewart, how you doing? Pat Mustard, Jack Stander, Andy Borthwick, how you doing, mate? West Coast Wisdom, how you do? Typo Brahe, Tugboats, debunk you, shut up, Typo Brahe, you're just at it. A rope loops round another eyelet, and the pressure's now on the inside of the eyelet, pushing the boat, you tool. Expander, Enzo Bandit, David Marks, how you doing? Execrate 200, how you doing, mate? Trisha J, how you doing? Oops. Chris F.E. Jackson, Ute, Sandy 123, Doc Savage, Chris Hayes, Amarok, GB Empire, how you doing? Lady Onyx, Nicholas Vedic Viking, how you doing? Callum, Authentic Intent, FPV Angel Beyond Belief, how you doing, mate? Josie Meza, how you doing? Andrew Canavan, Andrew Calvert, Mr. Golden V, how are we all doing, people? Spirit of Longthorn, Steve HV, how you doing? Flyer Female, how you doing? Leil Isabella, how you doing? Stopping Traffic, Peter Mattia, The Eye, Bendy Waters. I used to be into boxing when I was younger. Waking Up to Truth, how we doing? So anyway, as I say, people can offer up topics of discussion from the chat box if you like. I'll be sure to have a wee look now and then. So if you've got a pressing question or you've got something you want highlighted or brought to light, please don't put it in once and expect me to, you know, my clairvoyance to kick in. I've not practiced my yoga this morning, right? My chakras are not aligned and I'm not in touch with the sixth dimension just yet. Maybe a wee cup of Earl Grey will sort that out, but you'll need to repeat the point that you want to make because I might not pick up on it. So this format, as I say, and I say many other times, is open for anybody. If you're somebody that wants to come on and have a discussion, you know, about a particular topic or whatever, you just need to let me know. Request it, you know, maybe at the start of the week for the next weekend or whenever you're thinking of coming on. And we can arrange it. I can have a discussion with you in private and we can have it on. So this applies to everybody, okay? It's open to everybody. There's no point in saying, oh, I don't get heard, or, you know, I want something to say and moaning about it when you've got open platforms who are providing you somewhere to do just that. So use it. You're a telly man, Mark. I'm more sophisticated than that, Mark. I'm an Earl Grey, yes. Not only do I play the guitar with the pinky out, I fucking sip my tea with the pinky out because I'm sophisticated, yes. Windswept and interesting, high intellect. Drink Earl Grey. Earl Grey with honey, I might add. Yes, Earl Grey is the gateway to the sixth dimension. India, 007. What do you know? I'm the sixth dimension continuum. I've never seen you there. So I think you're a fake. I've done my time with the mushies. The magic mushrooms served a purpose for me, and that time has gone. You know, I've done it a couple of times, you know, later on in my adult life, but for the wrong reasons. And it was never the same, you know. A lot of the anxiety and depression and stuff from my early 20s, my younger years, it really helped to relieve a lot of that. You get a lot of, you know, internal dialogue happening, and it's good for that purpose. But anyway, I'm hearing some noise here. Derek, you all right, mate? You've muted. Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Can you hear me all right?
Check again, or did I just mute myself?
No, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, nice one, mate. How you doing?
Very good, very good. Nice to talk to you again.
You too, mate. Are you ready for the onslaught of questions, Eric? Are you ready to answer?
I'm ready to answer. I don't know if I can't see that while I'm here though, so I'm kind of blind. You'll have to field the questions for me.
That's I'll relay them, you know.
I had to download Chrome Special for you too. I already had Opera and Internet Explorer and Firefox, and none of them worked for the Hangout link. So
yeah, you need special tools to come into the shed, Eric. You know.
I see that. I see that.
So,
and I did practice my yoga this morning. I didn't have my Earl Grey though.
Well, you're not enlightened properly then. So I take it Eddie's going to be joining. Did you send him the link?
I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And I just sent him the link just now. So as far as I know, he's coming. Yeah, we'll see.
Cool.
I mean, I don't know what he's using to access it. If he's listening, you may have to try several different methods to get in. Internet Explorer didn't seem to work, even though it said it should. Chrome was what worked for me. Opera worked last time. This time it said there's some cookies problem. Anyhow, here now.
Excellent. So how are you, mate? What's been happening?
Good.
How are you seeing the landscape?
Yeah, I've been trying to spend some time off YouTube trying to get some alternatives since they outright banned me, of course, back in December, and then they disabled my channel with a couple strikes a month or so ago. So I got on BitTube, BitChute, Reel.video, the other ones, and so some other social networking sites like MeWe, Gab, Steemit. I had DTube, that's the other one. So I'm just trying to put all my videos on all those other video sharing sites. Some of them, I guess, are on the blockchain, which I don't understand fully, but it's supposed to mean that it's like unable to be censored or deleted or taken down off the internet in any way.
Yeah.
So on that and Minds and some other kind of like Facebook alternatives that don't seem to censor.
Right.
So there seems to be a more awakened crew on those sites.
I know that there seems to be a lot of censoring, but I don't know if it's just selective. I don't know what your view is on some of this, because I see a lot of, you know, real people who get censored, and there's a lot of other characters who just don't get censored. And I don't think it's heading towards a total shutdown. I think anybody with any kind of discernment can see that this is spreading far and wide. There's no way that this is going to be put back in the box by censoring the likes of you and me, and you know. So it always fuels my notion that I had from the beginning, that it's some sort of controlled rollout, and they've got certain characters, celebrity type, you know, mentality, and trying to maintain that as they work and try and feel an unraveling and maybe what direction they can go. I don't know if you see the same. I don't know if... Yeah,
I mean, since I, you know, November 2014, if you look at Google Trends, that was when I put out my, you know, the first Flat Earth book written in like 50 years, first pro Flat Earth book, and my Flat Earth conspiracy documentary, and all my interviews started. And shortly after that is when I would say the controlled rollout started. I mean, I'm not controlled. I've been looking into Flat Earth for years before that. My awakening was rather slow, though I have posted about it since, like I said, in 2008, I've had Charles Johnson in my first book. In 2009, I sent a message to Alex Jones. I sent him Robotham's book even, which prompted him to call me a flat earther, even though I wasn't at the time. So anyway, the the word psyop or controlled rollout, I somewhat have a problem with it, because I really do feel that it wasn't, a controlled rollout or a psyop, because the real kind of genuine grassroots explosion that happened at that time came from myself and other, IFers and other genuine people at the time. And then shortly after that, that's when I would absolutely agree that, like you said, these kind of actors, they're like, money grubbers, actors, I don't know what to call them, fake plastic people who clearly don't have truth, and exposing the truth and helping humanity as their first goal, but rather, like I said, money or some other ends that they're working towards.
So you think there's a kind of a reaction to the action then, that they see that grassroots taking effect and people are starting to spread it through word of mouth, and then maybe jumping on it and trying to coerce and steer it or maintain a certain amount of attention.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was if I remember it, it was 6 weeks after that a Mr. Sargent came out, and ever since, at that time, he was nobody knew Mr. Sargent, and when he came out, he just had the smell of disinformation agent, and having already studied Charles Johnson and Leo Ferrari and what happened with the original IFers and the Flat Earth Society, and how the original genuine guy came out with the information, and then shortly after, the controlled opposition comes in with this satirical, comedic twist to it, and then, lo and behold, after I came out, starting with Sargent and many other people since him, this crew, the potato crew, call it what you want, of clowns that have come out and done exactly that, kind of turned Flat Earth into this circus of, Christianity, piss drinking, Australia doesn't exist, what's your favorite color, and, my Frisbee model, and neon hats with blinking lights, and glasses with no only rims.
That's always been my problem. I'm sure you know my stance, Eric, when we're talking, shills and the accusations that fly about. For me, this topic's about objectivity. It's about the objective world, and that's where I discern. That's where I see, well, maybe some people are just at a level where that's the level of information they're offering. And I'm sure there's other people who are there deliberately to muddy the waters. But I just want to speak to this whole notion of show and controlled and whatever else. For me, I'm looking at the content of these people rather than, how they dress or, what their history may be or whatever. I know other people have different opinions of that, but I'm looking purely at the content, because that tells me, whether they've got some ulterior motive or what their plan may be. So that's purely where I focus. I don't know.
Sure. No, I was just kind of having a laugh there, but honestly, on IFers, we do keep meticulous track of any lies and or disinformation that are spouted by these various people. So while I was critiquing some of their superficial aspects, there's plenty of people in the community, if you want to call it that, who are seemingly less than genuine, as they've said lies about myself and other people, and are spouting disinformation such as the moon being a hologram, or gravity being molecular magnetism, or the sun not heating the earth but it being heated by unknown processes underneath, or other such claims that these figures have made. So and that's similar to Leo Ferrari back in the day. That was par for the course with him. He was also making claims that no genuine flat earther made, to turn it on its head like that. So when people are hearing it for the first time, they hear it with a satirical, slant to it. And so they're not seeing a genuine person trying to expose the truth. They see someone with a tongue-in-cheek attitude, looking like he's just trying to get a laugh, Mark, Patricia, whoever, I mean, it's really just. I gotta stop naming names. You're really good about speaking to the personality types, the behavior of the controlled opposition, without necessarily pointing fingers at it, because everybody does actually need to figure this out for themselves. I shouldn't be naming names and making it that easy for everyone. Honestly, you should actually check out all these people, see for yourself all
That's
the
it.
people in the flat Earth community, and figure out for yourself, who you think is, telling the truth and not.
And even at that, it doesn't really matter to me, as well, from my point of view. But I don't really care about these people because my mind's mine, and I own that, and that's what I always encourage everybody else. Own your own mind, regardless of who the internet celebrity is or who your preferred personality is. It's by the by. It's the information that's important to you, and that's what we have to use. So that's where your discernment comes in. And again, I think there's a bit of both. There's people who I see deliberately muddying the waters. And I see people who just want to be relevant, that want to be guru-type, messiah-type complexes and offer up new information or what they think's new information. And they put it out there, and it really doesn't do anything of service, especially when you're tying it to the particular topic that I'm interested in, So, there's a lot of people that will say, you represent a particular map and model. What have you got to say about that? Because, do you use a particular map or model as just a reference, something as a visual for people to look at and to make certain points? Or are you subscribed to, the circular EE? I don't know, I'll let you speak for yourself.
Right, no, like you said, I just use it as a reference. We don't, as you say it best yourself, that we don't know the dimensions, the size of the Earth. We don't know how it terminates, if it terminates, whether it's an infinite plane, if there's a barrier, an edge, as they like to jest. We don't know, and that's just, people want something to look at, and it is, as I said in my children's book, it's the grandpa and the kid, they go to like that fountain that they have in Australia at the Darling Park. I think it's in Sydney. It's a flat Earth map, whatever you want to call it, the AE standard model, and there's water enclosed in a circle, and all of the continents are in there protruding up from it. Yeah. And so actually, that is a working model showing all of the continents. It's a map. They like to say, you don't have a model, you don't have a working model. Well, it's not to say that we know the full dimensions or that this is a perfect map, but that is a working model compared to the globe, which is their working model, which doesn't work. You take a globe and you pour water on it, and it falls right down into that fountain below. Yeah. So, I mean, if you do want to compare models, then, the flat water model with Earth sticking up out of the water is how it works, out of level water. Exactly. But the actual dimensions, how the ice terminates, I've never claimed to know that. And like you said, I only use that as a reference. Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying, how quick people can just jump to assumption and then start labeling, just because of certain things used as a reference. But you're right in regards to that particular thing, and I've made that point myself. Just by using a basin with some bricks and rock and dirt and water, there's a scaled representation of a possibility, is what I would say to people. Now, the globe can't offer the same, And when we're talking about models anyway, I'm of the stance that a model's irrelevant because I don't live on a model. I live in the real world, and it's the real world that I want to establish. So when people bring these concepts, i.e. models, I'm like, I'm not interested. That's, how are you verifying or falsifying any of these postulations? I could bring a pyramid and say, oh, we live in a fucking pyramid, there's a model. I mean, it's irrelevant, So people get caught up in these things. And I just wanted to highlight that and address it because I know that I've seen you in the chat boxes saying about the exploration, but yet you still have people saying, Eric's a proponent of the EE map model and blah, blah, blah. And obviously it's not true, No, you got it. And you're right about, we need to bring it back to reality instead of trying to prop up some sort of model. They keep sending me, for instance, the flat Earth debunked by the Discovery Channel laser experiment. You see that one? Firstly, there's several laser experiments that have been done and they don't show any curvature. So funny how the Discovery Channel one shows curvature. They clearly didn't level the laser, and they even held it, I don't know if you noticed, at a masonically significant 33 inches above the water, that little clip. But when people send it to me and they're so convinced by the laser, I'm always thinking of what you say, which makes perfect sense, is that you know, the actual element of water, the thing over which you're doing the experiment, is the universal leveling tool used for millennia. And then you're using this newfangled technology that we just came out with to try and prove whether water is level. Like that's even an important experiment to do. It's like, no, just the water's level.
Exactly. It's a reoccurring phenomenon. It's a reoccurring natural phenomenon that everybody experiences. The surface of all bodies are standing water, equilibrate, you know, they're level, it's an even surface everywhere. Why do we need an experiment or devise some instrumentation to try and prove that? It's just ludicrous. I think for me it's pushed up.
When you leveled the laser to make sure that it was parallel to the water, you had to use a water level.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's it, you know. What's parallel on a globe? I mean, it doesn't exist. It's freaking ridiculous, you know. Me and Gav spoke about this before and spoke at that, you know, parallel would have to come from a natural observation like that. You know, it doesn't matter if there's a body of water at an elevation and a body of water at a lower elevation, you can guarantee that those two, the surface of those two, are parallel with each other, regardless of altitude, you know.
Okay. So, they just play word and mind games after that, and they add a T and turn plane into a planet. Yep. They take level and to make it the level on a ball. They take the horizontal horizon and tell you it's curved. Language had it right in the first place, and then they tried messing with it. Now everything's global.
Yeah, exactly.
Globe.
I know.
No more worldwide. No more Earth.
No.
It's all global.
That's one I say to people all the time. I remember that used to be worldwide, all across the world. And then right. I can't pinpoint when this global everything started to kick in. And I see it continually now with certain sport channels like boxing and football. It's global events and global boxing. And, you know, it's this mantra, you know, part of the religious mantras, global. It's everywhere, you know. Yeah.
Someone mentioned to me, I don't know if this is a fact or not, but that they thought GPS started out as geo-positioning system and then somehow morphed into global positioning system. Don't know if that's true or not, but whether that was or not, it does seem that in colloquial usage, the word globe and global has just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And like you said, across the world or worldwide, especially in like news. I think it's scripted. The news media, you know, how they have all these scripted things,
yeah.
But they put the globe right in there.
Exactly. It certainly seems that way. There's an upping.
Well, sorry, it's spinning in the friggin' lower right-hand corner of every news program anyway. So it's not far-fetched to think that it would be put in the what they're talking about.
I mean, the more aware you become, the more you see these things. You know, there's no reason to ram that in your face continually, other than it being part of, you know, their agenda to keep people subdued and keep them in that psychological, you know, misrepresentation. So, you know, it's obvious. You would never need to constantly ram it in people's faces. But as I say, when you realise it, you start to see it, and you see it everywhere. And it's just a method that a religious cult would use in order to keep people under the hypnotic trance, so to speak, you know. So, Gav, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, guys. Hi.
You all right?
I'm cool, yep. Hi, Eric. It's been a while. I think a couple of years
how you doing?
Since the last time, was it? So 2 years ago, I think, yeah?
Yeah.
How are you? Good?
Yeah, very good.
How's Thailand? Still warm and sticky?
It's been raining quite a bit lately, actually. But still, it's a hot rain.
I've been out in that part of the world quite often last year, and I always thought maybe I should just take a hitch over the last couple of hours flight to meet up, but it never got round to it. But maybe this year, maybe or next year.
You've been traveling to India and Germany, am I right?
Yeah.
Where else have you been going?
Well, mostly India, so
yeah.
Which isn't that far. Well, I mean, there's still a bit to go, but at least I was halfway there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, what do you do in India?
Just work-related stuff, so software.
This is we're heading in the right direction here, so I'm just going to get the full uniform on and go. So, Eric, what's your favourite colour?
Is that a 00 scientist?
Aye, that's a 00 scientist glasses.
Yeah, Eric, what everybody wants to know is, do you shave your balls?
Aye, and what implements do you use? Come on, Eric, dish the dirt. This is the stuff we really want to know about, you know?
I fuck all this objective reality and search for truth. Let's just get some inane nonsense.
Pear-shaped balls. Pear-shaped balls. That's some inane nonsense.
Ellipsoids. 2 ellipsoids. But they're still contained. Aye, that's what we need. We need to know if you've got smooth balls, and we need to know what colour they are, you know.
Inquiring minds, right?
Exactly, mate. That's what it's about, you know. Anyway, I digress. Sorry.
Different kinds of inquiring minds.
Have you guys talked a little bit about the status already of the flat Earth phenomena? Let's call it. I mean, just to give a little bit of my feedback, you know, I mean, Dale, you've said this often enough, you know, the advertising campaign is over. You know, it doesn't matter where I go nowadays, and it doesn't matter in what circles I travel, whether it's business related, personal related, whether I'm talking with young people, older people, you know, this topic has definitely reached everybody. At least I can speak for Scotland that, you know, it's maybe not the same in every country. In fact, you know, personal experience would tell me that it's not the same in India, for example. But you know, when I was in Scotland, Dale, you know, I mean, I told you, it didn't matter whether I was at a party with a lot of young people, they were talking about it, whether I was talking to some of my old friends who are 50 plus, right? Talking still behind closed doors, but, you know, it's reached everywhere. And, you know, I think the main point that we always try to say, Dale, is it's about the quality of the interaction now, right? It's about making sure people get the correct information and are, you know, to empower themselves to be self-critical. Something I think all three of us agree on, that is an absolute must, rather than listening to whatever the online cult personality of the week, you know.
Well, that's I kind of brought it up at the beginning, and that's where I was going. You know, it's like we know that through my experience, your experience, and many other. You know, the advertising campaigns done. Majority of people know about it. So now it's like, right, well, where is this possibly going? You know, trying to preempt where, if the powers that be and the investments are still there, and they've got huge investments, and this is the thing that holds a lot of it together. So, you know, there's a real threat there. So what I'm trying to discern is, what's the possibilities? Are they just going to go, all right, hands up, you know, we're caught, you know, now it's time for truth? Or are they going to fight tooth and nail to maintain it? Or, you know, take it in some other tangent? That's the point I brought up at the beginning with Eric, you know, what his thoughts on it were, you know.
They definitely seem to be fighting tooth and nail, both to keep the Flat Earth Awakening contained, as well as ramping up the globe programming, as we were talking. I definitely don't think they're going to put their hands up and say, okay, you got us. I think it's going to be the opposite for quite a while. But the encouraging thing is, like Gav said, is in just 3 or 4 years now, even without any help from any genuine mainstream media attention, it's gone from, you know, the most taboo subject ever, really. I mean, nothing was more taboo than honestly trying to bring up the conversation that you think the Earth is flat back, you know, 5 years ago, to now the majority have heard that this is an actual discussion that modern people are having, and a bunch of people believe it, that the Earth is flat. So that's an amazing word of mouth campaign, you know, that has happened in just these few years. I think everybody there's a lot of people that have contacted me saying that right now apparently we're in a slump. Did you know that, Del? We're in a rut here in Flat Earth, and they've been questioning my passion, my endurance, you know, a bunch of things like that. You know, if I don't put out at least one YouTube video per week or something, it's like Flat Earth is dying. If I put my energy anywhere else.
Yeah.
no, it's not at all. And the way it's morphed from, different, grassroots street activism, different sites on the internet, and the evolution of, a lot of the methods you've employed yourself. I'm thinking again of like 00 Scientist, or your recent really brilliant one with the 100-pound water bottle challenge. It's one of my favorite videos of activism I've ever seen. It's just so effective to challenge somebody to bend water in front of you and have just like you say, it's a great what's the word, not indirect method, because if you just say flat earth and you just, people turn off. It's that trigger that's been implanted in them.
Trying to avoid taking that kind of upper hand and saying, you've been lied to and here I am to save you, and blah, blah. It's trying to play all that continually, because people's egos and pride just get in the way of that.
Right. When you try to bring this up with people, you shouldn't bring it up in that way. You should bring it up in a way that you're just asking questions to the point that the person you're bringing the topic up to is unsure of where you're leading them. If they know right away you're leading them to, oh, you're one of these flat earth guys, you probably already lost them. The cognitive dissonance or whatever kicks in, the ego kicks in, and they're just going to start fighting you instead. But if you can speak around it and ask questions and get them, suspicious and skeptical, that's the way to do it.
You see, that method did work, and just like Gaff had said, it's new at the point though. Recently in the last kind of 6 months, even when I'm out in the street and you trying the indirect approach, you can see people are already preempting the way you're bringing the questions. They're already going, I know where you're going, this is about flat earth and blah, blah. I'm like, fucking hell, you're robbing me of my place here. I'm trying to lead you to a place and you're preempting it. Well, I've not got anywhere to go. But just going back to that, talking about this awareness level, this is where I struggle to try and discern the possibilities, because you can see now that there's absolutely no way they're going to put this back in the bag. So they can fight tooth and nail up the propaganda or the like. It's just not working. People more and more each day, regardless of the internet naysayers of we're in a slump, flat earth's not going anywhere. That's bullshit. To other people who endeavour to speak to real people in their everyday life, these people know that that's bullshit, because they can see the ripples and how far they're reaching. So getting back to it again, it's like trying to think, well, eventually it's going to have to come to a head, and how are they going to deal with that? That's where my question lies.
Before we go there, just one I think a lot of the activism that you've done, Del, you were the first guy out there showing how to be done, making people lose their fear of ridicule, right? Show them how to actively inquire, how to dismantle their belief systems. I think one of the reasons that when we do interviews now, people are already challenging their own belief systems. That now has become something where people say that, hey, that's normal. I should look at what I believe, why do I believe it, and dissect it. So I think that's something that's got through to people, which is why it's not so easy anymore to indirectly bring them up.
But again, and that you can see the muddying of the waters and the propaganda and its effects, because you're having to wade through a whole load of illogical propaganda bullshit with people. Like constantly having to wind it back and say, well, no, I'm not a proponent of this. You're assuming this is where I'm coming from. You're assuming an edge. You're assuming an ice wall. You're assuming all these different. So you can see that there's both the awareness is there, but the information is muddied, and people are, taking bits from left, right, and centre, and then, applying that to their own understanding and then spewing it up. So there is, you can see the effects of the muddying, the disinfo.
No, absolutely. People still get sucked into all that, and I fully agree. And we've talked about this before. Even people such as ourselves, I need to work at it every day, Dale, right, to make sure I don't fall into old traps or old ways of thinking, or adopt things. I don't think it's necessarily something that, oh, right, you get it and then it's all over. It's something you need to continually work at, because it's so easy to slip back into fallacies, if you like, unnoticed. I mean, it seems to be just part of who we are and how we are, that we also need to work at it, so. But I find it encouraging. As I said, the conversations I've had in the last 6 months have been excellent, whether it's, engineer offices that do construction work. I've had civil conversations with these people. I know people in top lawyer jobs, you know, that are talking about it behind closed doors. How would you actually prosecute, you know, something like this, right? You know, and prosecute in terms of, you know, how do you get the evidence and the facts and make the arguments? And it's one of these topics also that is highly intellectual, right? So, you know, it's a good thing too. It doesn't matter what stage you're at, right? It's an intellectual pursuit to think about these things, think about how we've been conned, and understand, you know, all these different facets. So I think it's caught the imagination, bad word, but it's caught the zeitgeist maybe of a lot of people, and that's definitely a super thing, right? That's, you know, I see that as all positive.
Yeah.
And the more they're promoting the globe as a reaction to this, I'm only seeing that helping us even more, because they're putting out more and more ridiculous stuff, like this new thing with Neil Tyson and Stephen Colbert on the new Mars rover. Did you see that clip? It's just absolutely ridiculous. This huge Mars rover thing they've got.
I see that. The Batmobile.
And yeah, it is. It's like a fucking Batmobile. And so people, you know, flat earthers and globies alike are sending this thing around, and it's just what's great is the conversation, because the more they ramp up the globe conversation, the more we're able to pick holes in it, and the more, you know, that they're making mistakes like this. So actually, all their propaganda is just making the conversation louder. It's not like you know, you don't, once you go flat, you don't go back, as we were saying. So it's not going to work on people that have figured it out.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to say is that sometimes I really do think that ridicule, especially if you are receiving it from the other person, is a very effective method of short-term activism. And what I mean is, like, if it's like on the internet, or if it's with someone that you're only going to be able to speak to for a few minutes, instead of letting them just berate you and you be the stupid flat earther and you're ridiculous and just take it, turn it right back on them. I mean, if you have done the research to the point that you are confident, as you should be, that you are not in motion and the earth is not curving, and you can defend that, you know, to a T, then, you know, don't stand or don't back down to that kind of talk. You know, throw it right back at them. They're the ones believing in absolute nonsense. It's freaking ridiculous. So you should absolutely not be afraid to ridicule it, because I get it from a lot of people, and a lot of people, you know, they get berated by their friends and their family, and then they'll send me messages, you know, I feel bad for them. But if instead of just taking it, you just throw it right back at them, and in a playful way, not in a you know, malignant way or whatever you want to call it, but in a playful manner, smiling, ridicule their stupid belief, because it's freaking stupid. So don't give it, you know, that's what Neil Tyson's taken that line apparently now. First he accepted the debate, and now he's saying that he doesn't discuss flat earth, he doesn't debate flat earth, it's below him. Well, the globe's below me too, to be honest. It's fucking stupid. I don't know why we'd even have to talk about it. I think if that thing, you know, that discussion ever happened, it would be so ridiculous. I can't imagine what would happen. I don't know if you'd be able to call it a debate or a discussion. It would probably be, as we're saying, it would be both of us ridiculing each other in a sarcastic, logical way. Well, one of us would be logical. I don't think he'd be able to come up with anything logical for his model.
That attitude, for me, you're spot on, Eric. But again, people have to be committed and really understand what it is they're committed to and be able to articulate it. You know, I think people experience the thing like the family members and the ridicule because they're unsure, and they maybe say things that they don't have a strand to take people along, that, you know, that they're not really rooted and committed properly to it. So I think it's hugely important that first and foremost you really understand both, you know, false dichotomies, you know, the globe and, you know, the elements of fake flat nonsense, and you have the ability to break through that and tear it apart and highlight the illogical red herrings, the sophistry, and be equipped. And then you have the confidence of ridicule because you can see it in ways where you can come in with ridicule. Some people, I think, go out, try and be active at a point of insecurity and not being fully committed and fully aware of what they're discussing, and it breaks down, the communication breaks down, and they will have their feelings hurt, you know. So
I think you're both spot on. Yeah, I mean, ridicule cuts with as keen an edge as an argument. Yeah, I think because, you know, at some point there only is ridicule left to do it, and you know, Scotland's a great place for people to be brutally honest and funny, right? But to cut through the bullshit and be funny, you have to know your stuff, right? I mean, they say, for example, if you're learning a new language, the hardest thing is to be funny in that new language, because you really need to know what you're talking about and be able to articulate before you can, you know, actually ridicule somebody. So, you know, I must say I enjoy doing it. You know, I mean, for me, it's a bit of provocation to bring them out of their high horse and their sophistry, you know, and we've done it many a time, Dale, you know, whether it's the Globe Gobblers or whatever. And, you know, I really do think it's important that people have that attitude, you know. But as you say, you know, you need to know your stuff, right? You can't just go in there and, you know, laugh at people without actually knowing, you know, the foundations of your arguments, against them. So, but brutal honesty and truth are usually the best comedians, you know. It doesn't matter where you see it, you know. So.
Exactly.
That's the funniest comedians, or the funniest jokes are funny because they're true, and they're true in a way that isn't often expressed or isn't often thought of. You know, it's the funniest things are things that you've maybe subconsciously thought yourself but haven't really grasped, and then a comedian has put them together perfectly in a way that just, you know,
that's why, you know, guys like Billy Connolly had the huge success and kind of transformed stand-up comedy, because he came at it from an observational, you know, standpoint, you know, the things that people got up to, you know, the ins and outs of social life, and just spoke at them and ridiculed them and made them funny, which made it, you know, guys like Billy Connolly a huge success. So it's a perfect method. Yeah. So we've got Eddie. Are you there, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing,
How
mate?
you guys doing?
Good, mate. Good.
I just woke up. I had a show last night, combat jiu-jitsu. I don't know if you guys follow that, but there's a lot of jiu-jitsu going on last night. I just woke up. I'm headed to my son's karate school right now, so I can hang out for a little bit.
Nice
one.
Cool stuff, man. Yeah.
What are you guys talking about? Flat Earth?
Well, jiu-jitsu with palm strikes, keeping them honest.
Yes, you're paying attention.
Yeah, man, good stuff. I like it.
How's
great?
How's everything? You guys all you guys are still flat, obviously, and if you guys have any doubt about me, I'm forever flat. I'll never go back.
Good. You just need to keep speaking to these friends and associates of yours, Eddie. Keep on them, keep giving them stick, ridicule them, just as we were talking about a couple of minutes ago. Get in there with the ridicule and laugh at them, make them feel silly for believing in absurdities.
Yeah, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I have no patience or interested in trying to convince people that that we're on some kind of flat plane if they're way on the other side. Like, if they still believe we went to the moon, I won't even bother. It's just way too hard. I'm only interested in communicating with people that already on board or are legitimately on the fence. If you're on the fence, you know, we could talk about it, but I don't know if you noticed the post that I put up. I'm not super preachy. I'm just not interested in arguing with people. It's hard for me. I have no patience. But I'm kind of like I do it in a subtle way. I'll drop some stuff, and I won't even caption it. I'll just let people think about it and wonder why I posted you know, some picture that NASA put on their Instagram or something. I'll just snapshot it and post it on mine and let people think about it. You know what I mean? Just like it's obvious stuff, like the stuff that the space agencies post on their Instagrams are just incredibly hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just people just buy it, you know.
Yeah.
And they got NASA has like, I don't know, 30 million followers or more, or something like that. It's incredible.
I know. I mean, it's things like one of the recent ones. Eric, you brought one up, but I've seen the. I don't know if you've seen the human beings are causing the Earth to wobble. Have you seen this? Everybody's like, yeah, we're making the Earth wobble.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible, man. You know, the one thing the people I think need to, you know, the people that are way on the other side, it's like they need to wonder, really just wonder why flat Earth is still around and growing and stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And I get people all the time on the low telling me that they're listening, but they just are afraid to come out. I mean, I'm talking about legit scientists. I can't even say their names, but they're friends of mine that have come out to me, but not in public, you know, because what ends up happening is I know this guy who is balls deep in a conspiracy theory, you know, but it's not really a conspiracy theory, but and he's super well known, and he 100% believes that we're on some kind of flat plane, but he can't talk about it because he's afraid that it'll ruin all his work in a certain conspiracy theory genre. And he's just afraid. But when we talk behind the scenes, we talk about flat Earth for hours. Yeah. And that's just one example. There's, I mean, so many people have come to me and are afraid to talk about it. They're afraid of the ridicule, you know. So flat Earth is way bigger than even you can imagine.
Yeah, and it's understandable.
I think,
you know, just like Gav was saying, there's so many people who are in the back, so many people in the backdrops who are there and know about it, but they're just scared. And that's good. It's good to hear that, though, because you know that it'll come to a tipping point where these people will, once they feel it's a safe zone, they will step up to the mark and openly discuss it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I hope in our lifetime, I hope we, you know, it seems like what is the latest evidence that you guys have run into? I mean, is it that the infrared? Because what I'm seeing a lot now is infrared pictures of like, you know, bodies of water that show no curvature. Is that the latest stuff, the infrared stuff?
I think so. If people are always looking for the tada moment, but for me, people like me, you have to take it back to a more base level. You know, this notion, just as me and Eric were talking about at the start of the show, that people think they can devise an optical device or a laser or whatever man-made instrument to try and discern how a body of water is level is absolutely preposterous. People have to understand at the fundamental level that the liquid is a substance that can be tested and known by everybody, that tells you beyond any shadow of a doubt that it's impossible for it to be bending, displaying convexity upon its surface. And that's as far as you have to take it. But people are not content with that simplicity. They can't commit to it. They're waiting for a big tada moment, whether it's a laser test, some scientist to come forward, some well-respected celebrity to come forward. People are always looking for these other things rather than committing to themselves, being the scientist as an individual and understanding the substances and their behaviours in the world, rather than these elaborate schemes of devising, you know, infrared camera shots and lasers across water. I mean, for me, it all adds to the pot, but there's never going to be a tada moment. So I don't look for something new. I don't think that's going to happen. The fundamentals are there and they're right in front of people if they want to go and have a look at it. We assume a level plane, we apply it in navigation and construction. These things are known. So that's the level people have to get at it. No waiting for a video of an infrared or a laser beam shot. So I think there is new ones, Eddie, but it's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned.
Right, reality's staring us in the face. We just need to see it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but for the
and it's
For the
never
people,
curved.
yeah, for the people on the fence, though, I think there's still people on the fence, and even people way on the other side. That, you know, after a while, you know, you keep hitting them with more and more of these experiments, and little by little, they start to jump on over to our side.
Yeah, I think it is good. The more observations that show contradiction, these are very useful because they can trigger people. I think you're right in that regard. It's just the standard for myself. I think it's more at a fundamental level. But I do agree that the more observations that are done and the more that it's catalogued, it lends weight and it adds pressure to people having to eventually cave in. So I think I agree there.
Yeah, we don't need a home run proof because, you know, you just look at the horizon, look at water, feel the fact that you're not moving. So the globe, the spinning, tilting, wobbling, hurtling around the sun, spinning around the galaxy, shooting off through the universe, that's the absurd claim that needs to be proven.
Yeah.
The fact that you're sitting still on a motionless level plane is obvious.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't need infrared or lasers or anything. That's the base.
Exactly.
Starting point.
Something else I would add to that, Eddie, you know, when people are talking about, you know, engaging in the conversation about NASA, the space images, there's again, I come back to the fundamental, the actual practical reality, the physics of reality. And you can debunk and stop the conversation right away because you can debunk the medium. You know, we understand what's required to create a gas pressure, particularly in a medium like a vacuum. We understand the relationship between a pressurized environment and a vacuum and understand that both require containment in order to be achieved and both require containment from each other. So this is what I'm talking about me getting right to the core and the fundamentals. I don't have to argue endlessly about the images and the argumentations to and fro about NASA and their expeditions. What are they telling me? They're telling me that the Earth exists within a vacuum and that there's no solid separation between the pressurized environment and the vacuum. Well, right there and then we have an issue because objective, applied, practical reality tells you that that's impossible. So that's pretty much the point I'm trying to make. No?
You know, one thing. This is Eddie. One thing that's amazing to me when you listening to these Flattr debates, I rather enjoy them, is that all the people on the other side, they you know, they have no red flag system like that at a certain point, you know, evidence, whether it's just if it's all circumstantial, at some point your red flags got to come up at some point. And the fact that they can't argue, they can't use the pictures of Earth from space as part of their argument. Like it's known you cannot use that because they're CGI, but that alone doesn't bring up any red flags. Like, wait a minute, why can't I use these pictures from space? Why?
Yeah.
Because they're CGI and they admit it. And you know, oh, but the Japanese figured it out. Oh, but the Japanese figured it out. That kills me. You know what I mean? We couldn't figure it out. We went to the moon 6 times, but we can't figure out how to take a legit picture of Earth from space. Oh, but the Japanese, they got it. They figured it out. Yeah. It's incredible that just that alone, if you come into the argument with a truly open mind, you're like, wait a minute, why can't we use these pictures? Oh, because they're CGI and they admit it. Okay, that's a gigantic red flag. That red flag is so big. It's like one of those flags at those car dealerships of that are right next to freeways, and they got those tremendous flags. That's how I see it. Like they don't even care that they can't use any pictures or video as evidence because it's all fake.
Yeah, that's it. It's also because they understand that people don't accept it. An image or a video is no way, shape or form measurable scientific proof of anything, particularly when your images are contradicting, you know, practical, demonstrable reality. So they know they have a real issue there. You know, and
that's a big issue. They can't use the pictures. Yeah, you can't use the pictures. Something wrong with your side of the argument. You have to throw out all the pictures. It's incredible. They don't look at it like that at all.
Yeah. That's it.
People like to say, where's the picture of your flat Earth? Where's any picture of anything but a flat Earth? I've never understood that question.
Exactly.
Doesn't every picture show a flat Earth?
What they mean, Eric, is part of their assumption that they assume that you can get high enough to see the full thing because
the whole thing. Yeah, they're gonna see a space pizza or something.
Globe, you know, so they're carrying that forward. Well, I can see the globes. Go show me the flat. I mean, it's just retarded, illogical nonsense. You know?
It's incredible how like for the pictures from the International Space Station, it's always the same goddamn layout. It's like part of the Earth, you see the curve, and then they gotta have like a little solar panel on the side, and then another like a little mechanical arm. They always gotta have that. They can never take a picture without a solar panel in the way. You know what I mean? It's hysterical, and people just eat that up. They just believe it, hook, line, and sinker. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, Elissa Hawke there?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say that. Elissa, are you here? Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good. Cheers for joining us.
Hey, Gav. Hey, Eddie. Hey, Eric. So good to see you all together.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Hey, Eddie, I am so sorry. I just wanted to let you get on before I came on because I thought you maybe wouldn't want to talk to me.
Why? Are
well,
we mad at each other?
No, I hope not. I mean, you shouldn't be mad at me, but I just want to make sure you watch my Neil deGrasse Tyson debate with Joe. Did you see that yet?
You know what? I saw like maybe 5 minutes of it. I haven't seen the whole thing yet.
5 minutes? There's 2.5 hours of non-stop pleasure.
You know what? The whole thing with that Joe Rogan versus Eric Dubay versus Neil deGrasse Tyson, that whole thing, you know, it was my idea. You know, me and Joe were arguing back and forth on text and sending each other links, and we're just like battling each other on Flat Earth. And I said, why don't we just get Eric Dubay and your boy Neil deGrasse Tyson to battle on your podcast? And he agreed. He announced it. It was happening, and then it didn't happen for whatever reason. And I never really asked Joe why it didn't happen. I never bring it up. I don't even want to bring up conspiracy theories when I'm around him. I just don't want to start an argument. You know what I mean? Because I love him like my brother. I really do. He's done so much for me. And I understand why he thinks Flat Earth is ridiculous. I truly understand it because I was that guy for a while. So I get it. It sounds ridiculous. He really believes I'm losing my mind. I get it. But he's done so much for me that I just get it. And I don't want to call him out on it. I never even, I wouldn't go on his podcast and say, dude, that reminds me, what the fuck happened to Eric Dubay versus Neil deGrasse Tyson? I don't want to do that. I don't want to bring it up. But because I thought, it's obvious that, deep down, he knows that Eric would crush Neil deGrasse Tyson. He knows that. So I didn't even want to bring it up. I just thought of that, the whole situation as a win for Flat Earth anyways, because he announced it and that didn't happen. But I didn't want to call him on it. I love him. He's like my brother. But when Elon Musk was on his show, he brought up Flat Earth in a very he looks over at Jamie and and he brings up Flat Earth. And although they didn't go into it that much at all, Elon really had nothing to say about it other than, he thought it was a troll or something, which is retarded. But Joe bringing up Flat Earth like in a condescending way to Elon Musk, I thought, okay, then you know what? Maybe I should bring it up to him and ask him why it never happened. You know what? I thought if he never brought it up again, I would just let it go. But he brought it up again and was kind of, in a mocking way like he always does. So maybe I will bring it up to him as to why he changed his mind,
Aye, well, if he's up...
I have these fantasies of you and of Eddie and Joe and Neil sitting around drinking whiskey and watching my comedy, but that's just me. I'm just happy to see Gav linked with Eddie, linked with Eric, linked with Del. And I want to ask you, Eric, about what happened when you first found out about, obviously you saw Mark Sargent and saw right through him, but what about people like Math Powerland? Like I've pretty much always despised him. But the very first thing I saw of him doing stand-up, that was eye-opening for me when he was saying, you know, picture or painting. And so I want to know, at first, did you start up a bit of a friendship with Math, Eric? And then were you disappointed?
Before we enter into this, you know, what I want to get across is, to me, that it's hugely important and relevant. We're talking about content of people. I don't give a shit about their personality. I don't give a shit about what they do in their career. None of that's of any relevance or importance. So I just want to preempt any of these types of discussions before
absolutely.
that. This is illogical garbage, this, when we start focusing on people's personalities. If we're going to talk about their content and the messages and what they're offering up, then that's up for discussion as far as I'm concerned. But the rest of it, we don't have any grounds to stand on to start judging each other from a subjective point of view. So just all I'm offering here is clarity, Elissa, before you enter into any of this.
That's totally fair. And this is my point, is that a lot of these people that have shown themselves over time to not be genuine have got great content. And so, you know, they are allowed to put out some great content, and then, you know, after a few months or half a year or whatever, they can start slipping in the disinfo. Yeah. So by that time, you're following them, and you look like an idiot too. That's
what I mean about looking at their content and always being discerning about what's being offered up. That's where I can see. That's where I see people. I'm judging it on that. Know who they are on a personal level. I just want to add clarity to that. That's all.
That's good. That's good. And the other one who I learned a lot from at the start was the Morgile. He had these long rambling videos, but he had a great one about NASA and the Nazis. And he was one of the first people that got me thinking, you know. So I kind of want to know, how did you react, Eric, when you started to realize, oh, fuck, all these people might not be genuine like me or whatever, if you are, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, conspiracy timeline has been like that because I started out with Alex Jones and David Icke and all the similar to yourself, actually. So, I mean, it's been a series of finding, you know, heroes and having them knocked down. So many people that are propped up in this kind of truther community, whatever you call it, are less than genuine, and so, and they happen to be the most popular ones. So you actually have to go through. That's why they call them gatekeepers. You have to go through them before you get to the place that they're keeping. And so, yeah, not to get into personalities or anything, I would say that with Math, or even with maybe the Morgile, the other people, content, especially now with Math Powerland, I don't see any content of value coming out of him. At the beginning, there was some good stuff, just like you said, and I agree. I did enjoy some of this. I mean, he used to actually talk about flat Earth, you know, evidences and things like that. Whereas nowadays, I don't hear much of that coming from his channel. But yeah, they're not really talk about personalities, and I think Del said it best. In this whole thing, you just got to look at the content, and by looking at what they're saying and what they're not saying, people can and should discern for themselves what they think. And so it doesn't really matter what I think of Math Powerland or the Morgile or any of these people. What really matters is what you, Elissa, and you, the you know, listener, thinks of them, having done their own research and figured it out for themselves.
Exactly. And that's it. And for me, a sign is the people who play up to the guru messiah type complexes. You know, it's hugely important for me that people get the fundamentals, which is, how does your mind work? How do you process information and discern for yourself? That way you eradicate this notion of follower and leader type scenario. For me, it's that we're trying to eradicate, because that's where they're playing a lot of the propaganda. They know people are in an insecure, unstable kind of follower type mindset, and these people can be put in place to perpetuate that. So part of what I'm looking at with some of these characters is, are they playing that down? Are they actively telling people not to follow and not to pursue these types of avenues. And that will tell me a lot about these characters and what their actual agenda is. Whether it's an agenda, you know, in regards to an organisation, or whether it's just a personal agenda for self-gratification. For me, it's one and the same. If they're not trying to empower the individual and keep the discernment with the individual, I've got a real issue with them, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think about all the work that Eric lined up when he's decided, okay, I mean, I just heard you say, Eric, since 2008, you put out your first thing about geocentrism. So it's like years of like private research, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to come at the world with this or whatever. So you just, in your Virgo fashion, you decided to like link all this stuff. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, you decided to link all this stuff and make an assault on a lot of the truther community, the truther interviewers, the sort of people in the world who are open and learning new facts as opposed to all the lies we've been told. And so I guess I'm just wondering how disappointing it's been to realize that there's about 80 to 90 government-sponsored trolls for every 10 real.
I think that's Eddie. He's got some wind noise on his microphone, if we can check that.
Yeah. Eddie, are you there, Ed? Can you hear us, Eddie?
Oh, say that one more time. I'm at karate school, but I'm listening.
Aye, we're just getting some wind noise and background noise coming through from your mic there, mate.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it's a good time for me to let you go. I just got to my son's karate, and I gotta be here. But how long are you guys gonna go for?
I'm not sure. Just until the conversation dries up, I would imagine. So
I'll try calling you guys up in a bit. Is that okay?
Nice one.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, so we were actually talking about that earlier, Elissa, about how it was just like Leo Ferrari and Charles Johnson, the original IFers, and then the Flat Earth Society coming right on its heels with their satirical, disingenuous brand of disinformation to muddy the waters. And so I was actually expecting it, and it was, it came just as planned within like 6 weeks after putting all my information out in November 2014. So I wasn't surprised or I didn't feel hurt or anything. It was actually kind of humorous for me because I expected it, and there it was with its fluorescent hat and neon blue glasses and all its other trimmings.
It probably took you like 6 months to call it or a year to call it, did it? I can't remember.
Well, I mean, with certain people, yeah, certain people are able to fool me for a while, but others I'm able to see right from the get-go. For example, Math Powerland, I followed him for a while, whereas Mark Sargent, I never was really fooled by him because he started spouting disinformation and lies about me personally right away. So, they're only able to fool you as long as they stick with the facts, and once they go off of them, that's when you can see who's genuine and who's not.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say to Eddie, is that you don't have to go after Joe or Neil because the truth is going to go after them. And, everybody gets bitten by the truth in the end. That's how I see it.
Yep.
And it's funny just watching the weeks pass, the months pass, and watching these guys have nothing to offer, no proof, no evidence, just ridicule and bitching. It's just bizarre that we're living in this time, that we're picking a fight with what's considered Hollywood's astrophysicist of our time or whatever, because we're trying to get some attention on this.
Yeah.
I want to ask Gav, have you been talking to lawyers, Gav, about how you could possibly prosecute?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one avenue of pursuit that I have, yeah.
So you know a flat earth lawyer?
Yeah, I know a couple of people who are in that scene who who can give me a tip or two.
Because it's really disappointing to me that there's fucking 5 of us here or whatever, you know. Like, I know, when people say to me, why don't any professionals come out about this? I'm like, oh, well, Gav's got 2 degrees. And someone commented on one of my videos once and he said he's got 2 degrees, you know, but really there are fuck all professionionals.
But it's an appeal to, it's an illogical appeal to authority anyway, Lisa. You know, I have a real issue with this nonsense.
Me too.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, people demanding are thinking, oh, well, I need a lawyer or somebody with PhD after the name, and that somehow now gives validity to my stance. No, fuck off. You know, you stand on your own ground through your own discernment, and that's all you require. You know, the rest of it's just nonsense. That's the followers looking for a new priesthood to lead the way, and I just don't accept that bullshit. And I certainly don't lend myself to it. You know?
Yeah, but it's impressive when you meet somebody who can think about truth when they are financially tied into the system and their job could be dependent on it. Like, I would say you wouldn't get very far as a lawyer if you became publicly known as a flat earther.
I would probably agree with that, yeah, and the people I know as well, yeah. But I think what Dale said is really important. You know, you don't need qualifications for it. You know, these people are genuinely scared to come out, you know, or scared, at least a lack of bravery to come out on the side of the truth. And I think they do need more numbers before they will do that. But yeah, you don't need it. You don't need any qualification. I just find it good that, you know, there are certain things that, you know, in terms of prosecution and inquiry generally, it doesn't matter what it is, a crime scene as Dale refers to it, right? There are certain, you know, things, arguments, tips, you know, that, you know, I think are good coming from people with that expertise. But you know, that's all I need them for, you know, because I'm not an expert in everything. You know, I'm not an expert in anything.
the thing also about the pursuing them maybe through a law system or a court, you know, I've got questions here about, you know, what grounds would you actually have to stand on? Because it's not like they're forcing anybody to buy into it. They're not forcing anybody to believe it. They're just offering up a product, you know, and people are taking it. So I don't even know what kind of grounds there would be there. It's not like there's a civil case. It's not a criminal case, you know, where there's an injured party, you know, like somebody's robbed me or something, or harassed me or assaulted me, or, you know, or any of that kind of thing, you know. And so where would we be there with that? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe through the wording and what they've actually offered from the beginning, the telltale signs are there, where, you know, they may have you know, used word salad and legalese terms to actually tell you, look, we're offering you a product. We never actually claimed that what we were doing was really real. I don't know.
No, I think there's remarkable similarities to what you're saying. You know, talking legalese to people and getting them to acquiesce and buy basically on their own free will is very much the same as the Globe story. You know, whether it's the sophistry in mathematics and words, is again, you know, we're being offered something. If you look very closely at the words, they're not even telling lies, the academics, right? They just have a different interpretation of the terms and the definitions and the meanings. So at the end of the day, I think you're quite right, Dale. You know, it's because we're buying into it. You know, we're at fault. You know.
Well, I think it would be much more useful to have a direct approach to those. Say for instance, your children are in an education system. Then the parents taking responsibility and trying to hold, just on a one-to-one level, that educator accountable and making sure you have that discussion about what it is you're actually passing on there. I think that would be a much more purposeful or a better pursuit for everybody to partake in, rather than this, let's go to NASA and hold NASA accountable. No, keep it grassroots again. Speak to the educators. Make sure they're aware of this, you know, issue, and then say in a personal level, I'm holding you responsible if you continue to tell lies to my child. You know, then you've got a more humanistic type of contract there, if you like. I don't know. Because
you've got a grassroots level too, with which you can really interact. Everybody can do it, right? You know, everybody should be able to speak to the teacher of their kids. So it's a much more widespread, powerful tool, if you like, or weapon. Yeah, absolutely.
Take it from the foundation. Always go to the foundation, and if you can start pulling away at the foundation, the higher levels will start to come. You know, so
yeah.
I saw on Facebook this week a film of a flat earther whose name escapes me right now, a woman lecturing to a school board committee. It was fascinating. I mean, she did a really good job in a really short time.
That was
4 minutes.
Is it Mary at sea level or Marilyn at sea level? It's one of the two.
Yeah, I think
Marilyn.
Not Mary. I think
Marilyn. Marilyn Spirit Level Teed, sir. Her name, Marilyn Teed. Yeah, she did an excellent job, and that's a great idea. Just like Del said, to get in there with the schools and with the other parents and the teachers. And one trend I noticed is people looking for groups all the time. They're trying to find some group to join or some group identity or some group action to be taken. Whereas I see the actual wanting for that as a lack of activism in itself. Exactly. Just the fact that you're looking for some group or you're looking for some big home run thing to do tells me that you're probably not stopping and talking to every person that you meet and everyone in your family, all your friends, the parents, the teachers, all this stuff. You're probably not doing that if you're thinking like, I want to find some group that's really taking action about the flat earth and I want to join that. Even if you did do that, you're probably doing less good than you would be doing if you just took individual action of your own accord in whatever way works for you to spread this message. And there's so many different direct and indirect ways, from as direct as getting out there and talking to people or giving the excellent presentation to a school board like Marilyn Teed did, or as indirect as things we've talked about, like writing on money or artwork or things where you don't even have to interact with another person if you don't want to do that. So there's so many things that people can do on an individual level, and it's what comes through my head every time people message me looking for some group or what's the next thing, what's the big thing or whatever. I feel like I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling like you're not doing your part, and that's why you're here like looking for it. I get a lot of messages like that, and I'm trying to find a way to respond.
That's what I meant also sorry, about having to work at it. Everybody has to work at it. The fact that we've been stripped of a belief and people want to attach to another one and are constantly searching for one instead of being, really solid in their own knowing and in their own activity. And I think it's something you have to continue to work at every day,
Exactly.
I have two girlfriends who are teachers, and it's so cute. One of them was like, we're going on an excursion to the planetarium in Cancun. Do you want to come? She thinks it'll help me, not be a flat earther anymore. And I'm like, a planetarium is a flat earth with a, like a circular, all the stars circling around us. But they're like, I don't want to tease them because I should want to tease them because they never stop teasing me, but it's like I don't give a shit because the truth's going to come after them.
That's interesting that people are offering you salvation to come back into the globe fold. I've never had anybody try that with me yet.
Oh, you're a freaking professional. That's it. I'm a fucking massage therapist.
But yeah, come and see the projection of the sphere in the planetarium. That'll get you back.
20 Hail Marys and Professor Love and superiority for the globe, and you're back in. Repent.
No, you were asking if there's a medication. Maybe there's a drug we can all take to go back. A pill.
It's called stupidity.
Yeah. I've got to thank you, Eric. Eric graciously wrote a letter to my dad because I asked him to. My dad, after I left, don't laugh like that, Eric. My dad will be watching this. He's probably tuned in because he watches everything I do. He just doesn't tell me. But yeah, he wrote me a letter after I left Australia. I was so mad at myself after I visited Australia because I had all these plans. I hadn't been home 4 years. I had all these plans to tell all my family the Earth's flat. I'd been there about 3 weeks before my brother said to me one day, "Are you telling me you think the Earth is flat?" So I sort of half got there with my brother, but then all I could do for my dad was leave a book on his bed. you know, the flat earth conspiracy. And about a month after I got back here, Dad sends me a letter. He hasn't written to me in about 10 years. So it was good. We got some conversation. But he wrote me this long letter about how the earth can't be flat and how silly an idea it is and how Eric is so silly. And then I just wrote back with the evidences against his evidences, like, oh, well, we stand on the shoulders of giants and Galileo was great and all that crap. So I let Eric defend himself. I passed the letter on to Eric and let him defend this really nice, polite letter back to my dad. And, well, there are a couple of jabs in there, but I edited them out before I sent the letter on to my dad. And then my dad wrote back, fucking incense. And I could tell how mad he was because he compared Eric to Donald Trump. And I could tell that was the meanest thing he could think of in the world, to push this truth away, you know. Anyway, so I decided not to get Eric to write the second letter back, but I wrote the second letter back with like a freaking 2 pages of proofs, which he already had in the Flat Earth Conspiracy book that I'd left at home, which he hadn't obviously read. And now he's not talking to me. 2 months later, my mum doesn't even put his name on the letter when she says, love mum and dad. Now she just says, love mum.
Oh. Been abandoned.
Well, the thing is, the truth's going to chase after my dad too, so all I really have to do is sit pretty and either wait until he dies or he apologizes and humbles himself. And I think I know which one's going to come first.
Well, that's one of the problems we were talking about with the indirect approach, and you know, it's particularly men with a pride in their ego, you know, and if it's coming from a daughter or something that's viewed as a lesser, a female, I don't know, you know, the mentality of father, but I can see the issues with people, you know, always is the same, and that's just unfortunate because the truth's under no obligation to anybody, and it's up to them if they want to see it or not. And unfortunately, that's what happens. I'm sure everybody's experienced it. There's been relationships severed, people walking away, people ridiculing, people gaslighting you, making you feel trying to make you feel all sorts of negatives just because they don't want to face up to the facts, you know, and face their own delusions.
But I had one day of that, and I was angry at some stranger on the internet who put a flat earth thing in my newsfeed on Facebook. And as soon as I saw my own anger at that person who generally planted good stuff in my newsfeed, I realized, oh, okay, what the fuck is wrong with you, Elissa? Why are you so full of rage over this idea that the earth might not be a sphere? Time to go and check your proofsies, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, and that's how I became a flat earther. And it's like 2 months have passed, and I'm like, he's going to fucking die, isn't he, before he actually gets this. It's sad.
Well, that's it. It is sad in the countless other generations who have passed before. We all have family members who have came and went. They had absolutely no idea. I had family members in war involved in horrific things like war, you know, upheavaled from their country to other countries. I mean, I don't even want to imagine the trauma and the turmoil that they must have went through. And that just fuels me to be even more determined to eradicate the bullshit for the generations that are next to come, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, listen, don't go out there asking for trouble.
I've always been the bad one in the family.
But yeah, I mean, just one thing, and we've been talking about this a couple of times still as well, and you know, again, this, how should I say, a bigger demand for truthfulness and integrity seems to be happening, right? It might be just my, perception of it, I don't know, but whether it's, people liking Trump, to take your example, Elissa, that people like the fact that he's hammering out things that, direct, transparent, open, it seems to be something that people want more and more. Political correctness would be another example where people are showing those ideologies for the nonsense that they are. So I don't know whether it's the flat earth has helped that, or whether it's all part of some other thing, But
I think it's an accumulation, and I think it's an inevitability. When we build things on lies and bullshit and you know, that eventually it's got to eat itself. It can't maintain, you know, an eternal presence. It has to at some point. It's inevitable that it's going to crumble and crash. And maybe that's just what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
People are disgruntled in all walks of life about various different aspects. I think it drives you into that place of reasoning and, right, well, I need to actually figure out what the fuck's happening here, because I'm putting myself into ignorance and just leaving it up to other people, and it's leaving confusion. So I don't know, I'm the same as you, Gav. You know, for me, I personally think it's just an inevitability. It was always going to happen.
Yep. It's like in its own bullshit, the decadence, and, you know, the whole system. Yeah. So I would agree, and I think people are recognizing that they have to speak out and they have to stand up. Yeah.
I see a divide between people that are thinking that intelligence means memorizing and regurgitating whatever, you know, the education and mainstream media says, and then other people who, like ourselves, who think that intelligence is being skeptical and thinking for yourself and coming to your own conclusions, which is not encouraged by the mainstream media or the education system. And the people with the most letters after their names tend to be the ones that are least likely to come around to actually being skeptical of the information that gave them the letters after their names. So, because they already think they're smart. They were patted on the head and given a Masonic mortar board and told that they were super intelligent for their 250 grand that they wasted on nonsense. Meanwhile, the other people are, you know, happy to be skeptical of anything and everything, which is why they probably didn't waste money on that overpriced education in the first place.
Yeah. I was at a dinner party the other night, and they kind of almost got two of the people there I hadn't met yet, and my two friends who know me were sort of saying, you know, they were starting to allude to the fact that they were going to start saying, you know, Elissa's a flat earther or whatever. And before they got to that, I was saying, you know, the moon landings, everybody knows now that the moon landings is a hunk of shit. And not one of the four of them had a problem with me saying that the moon landings are a hoax now. So this is really different. Even a year ago, those people wouldn't have said that. And I think the moon landings is a really great step on the way to the flat earth lie, truth being exposed, the globe lie being exposed. But, you know, I always say to people, okay, that the moon, the little thing that landed on the moon had to shoot up 69 miles and then dock with a rocket going 17,000 miles an hour. People act like because it's space, 17,000 miles an hour it's not as fast because it's space and there's no atmosphere.
That's no problem. You just throw out a lasso, and when the thing gets close enough, you get some sticky tape and join them together, and off you go. I mean, there's no resistance in a vacuum, right? So, well,
the gaffer tape was helpful. I know that they put the gaffer tape on the moon lander because that there was going to be a fair bit of impact when that rocket came and picked them up on the way home, you know. And the wall, you know, the walls were made of 2 layers of aluminium foil. And even one of the astronauts said that if he dropped a spanner, it would have made a hole in the floor.
That's okay. You just stick a finger in, though. Stick a finger in your face.
Was that real? Was that real?
Of course it was real.
Of course. It's all real.
But, like, I thought that might have been some disinfo made up to make us look stupid. That Michael, whoever it was.
Well, there's a product. It probably already exists, but sticky tape named Gravity. There's a fucking product we should invest in. Yeah. Is everybody here?
Unbelievable.
Right, I'm still here.
A nice one. I just seem to be a dip in the sound there. Sorry. Aye, so it's reaching far and wide. And just going back, Eric, to what the last point that you made brings it full circle again, because people are stuck in that. You know, we know that people will appeal to authority. That's the mind frame that they have. So I still have concerns that could be played upon. you know, for whatever the future holds. Again, it's why, you know, people like myself are hugely passionate about trying to empower the individual, break things down to a fundamental level and lay it out there, rather than offering these things up in the air that, you know, are not rooted in anything, because it just perpetuates people's confusion and lends to them saying, well, I'll just wait for an authority to tell me what's actually happening, you know. So it's a real concern for somebody like me.
No, you need to be permanently on your guard and keep asking questions, even the uncomfortable ones that nobody thinks, you know, we have to hear. You know, I think that's hugely important. You know, if we see how activism can get twisted into things that, you know, actually don't empower the people, you know, then, you know, I have the same issues with that too, Dale, you know. Yep. So people need to be wary, on their guard, look at the content, and for fuck's sake, think for yourself.
Exactly.
Gav, can I ask you, Gav, how did you first find out about it?
The very first link I got was from Zen Garcia pointing to Eric's work. I think I was more or less on the IFRS forum the day after. And I tried to be, or still am, active as far as my time goes. So, yeah.
And he didn't kick you off.
Sorry?
Didn't kick you off.
No, for whatever strange reason, Eric never booted me, no. No, but yeah, so I mean, the 200 Proofs, which was Eric's first book, was something I poured through, looked through, and, you know, did my due diligence, as we all do, I think. It takes you probably 2 or 3 months or whatever to, you know, work through all these things, but basically I knew instantly, you know. I think my first comment in IFRS was, phew, fucking never saw that one coming, happy to have arrived, you know, something like that, you know.
Wow, you were fast, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the honest people, the people who have always been pursuing the answers, the bigger questions, I think it's easier to get. As I say to people, I was never invested in the globe. I assumed, and I just held that as a base core kind of belief, but nothing that I ever invested in or I had any emotional attachment to. So for me, it was really easy, you know, pretty much just in an instant. Although you have the psychological and the emotional process of the, you know, that you go through later on. But to get it and to be intellectually honest enough just to grasp it right there and then was easy for me. As I say, I think because you're always pursuing the answers to the bigger questions anyway. So.
Yeah, I think if you're at all reflective and you think about life, and it's not just about shaving your balls, but you know, you actually do have some sort of deeper questions, then you're, you know, obviously researching already into whatever lies and conspiracies. So, you know, but the flat Earth was definitely the big one, because natural philosophy kicks in then, and you have direct reality to compare it with, compare the stories with, and not just two testimonies from two different people, where it's awful difficult to, you know, to get to the root of things. But that's the good thing about the flat Earth, and why if people get that, then they get other things too, which is hugely important.
Exactly.
Yeah, the flat Earth is a built-in revolution to the globe, because once they started lying, and actually once they completed lying to the world about it, as Del was saying, in that is the necessity, the inevitability that the lies will come crashing down and the revolution of truth will happen. So, and flat Earth is the biggest one and the easiest one to prove. So instead of harping on about any other conspiracy, really, I think flat Earth should be, you know, in the army of truth, so to speak, the front people with the poles, you know, and the shield, they should be the one right out there. Flat Earth is the main thing to get people on board to the fact that the whole world has been lied to on a massive scale. And then once they get on that, and you can prove it in your backyard today, unlike every other conspiracy in the world, which most of them are also true, and you can research those later once you realize that you are being lied to on a massive scale. But only then will you really get the, you know, open eyes. If you try to attack them with, you know, JFK and Operation Northwoods and the minor outlying conspiracies, you're not going to get somebody to really wake up to the fact of how bullshit, you know, their perceived reality actually is. Whereas flat Earth is the one. So I want to encourage people to have flat Earth be at the forefront of your truth
It's the one
helping endeavor.
If I could just add to that, that's because, again, it's something that's everybody's direct experience. And just as you say, Eric, we can research and we can seek anomalies and contradictions and other things, but the beauty of this is that it's people's direct experience. You don't have to imagine, you don't have to listen to hearsay. You can prove this for yourself, and that's the difference for me. The majority of the rest is out with people's direct experience, so I have to always ask, what real use is that to me, other than I can highlight and I can see a contradiction in the story that's being offered to me, which for me is good enough. I don't have to go any further. I just know that there's other possibilities, and that's as far as I can take it. So, sorry, I just wanted to add that. And Gav, I think you were going to add.
I was going to say the exact same thing. You know, it gets you to be a direct realist. You know, I mean, just to take a case at point, you see in America, Kavanaugh, the Justice Supreme, and basically you've got two testimonies and people fighting, and very difficult to find resolve. But you know, as soon as we talk about the natural physics of water, for example, then there is no problem to find it out for yourself, to realize it for yourself. And I'm hearing quite a lot of people saying, yeah, but flat earth is over. We need to, there's a bigger story, right? And that, you know, all I can do is shake my head at that nonsense, because there is no bigger story. And there's no other way to really get to the truth of everything if you don't start here and observe your direct reality and see that that's already been, you know, told a lot of fips. So, you know, as far as that, all these other things are nonsense as far as, well, not nonsense. I mean, we know that they're lying everywhere, right? But yeah, proving it to yourself is the only possible natural philosophy.
The other issues should be peripheral, you know, in the sense of trying to wake people up. I think this is the real wake-up call. Everything else is just kind of a little pinch.
Yeah, as I always say, if you can show people that they're fundamental, the place that the reason from is flawed, then all their other reasoning processes and everything they assume to be true has to be looked at. If you can just show them that the basis is wrong, you know. So for me, it's the first and foremost. I know that I'm saying the other things are irrelevant. On a personal level, they are irrelevant to me because they're not in my direct experience, but they're not irrelevant as part of the bigger picture, you know.
No, I see the same thing too. I always bring up the example of visibles and tangibles, which we've talked a lot about. You know, that if you don't see that these two things are different objects of reasoning, right? If you don't realize that a visible figure is something that you can reason about independently, including mathematically, against a tangible object, if all you've done all your life is lump those two things together and never been able to discern, then you're open to all kinds of shit, right? But everybody knows what I mean when I say you have a visible observation and a tangible substance, right? So, you know, getting people to cut through that and being able to see where that's going, you know, that's where direct realism helps in all the other aspects too, because your discernment improves, yeah, with time. So
the entire fields of astrophysics and astronomy as a, you know, study into looking at what we're living on is a complete straw man or a red herring, because it has nothing to, because that's the visible, so to speak, where you're just looking at lights in the sky and trying to compare it to the tangibles that are right here on Earth that we can actually work with, the elements and actual, you know, physical things. And you see that especially with this like $10,000 baller challenge that Jade DeCaspi and I were doing, that everyone, 90% of the entries are appeal to sky fallacies.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the sky says this, therefore the Earth is curving.
Yeah. Visible appearances tells us, you know, as Dale always says, you don't get any measurable proof from looking at the roof of your house, you know, of your floor. So, you know, that it's as simple as that. And people looking at visible figure and extension and not differentiating the narratives they're being told, yeah, that's where people still get lost so easily. They want space to be true. Yeah. Please give me my science fiction.
Don't take my ball away.
Don't take my ball.
Fucking tough. I'm taking it. I'm sticking a fucking dagger right through the bastard. I'm going to rip it open. I can't play with it anymore. It's fucking, the game's over.
Yeah.
You really have done that, Dale. Every week.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Everybody, no, it's not just me, you know, everybody that's here, the majority of people watching this, the people in the chat, it's down to every single individual who has contributed to this in one way or another, you know. So people talk about unity and all this bullshit that's shown up there as an image or an idea. That's the real unity that I'm talking about, is people taking control of themselves and speaking and spreading the word from their own grassroots level. That's the real unity. That's where things are affected and how things change, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Yeah.
Right. Unified individualism. If we're unified in the fact that we don't need some big group or some body or committee or Flatty Awards or Flat Earth conferences or whatever kind of thing to make progress, and that we're all responsible for individual progress and individual activism in our own lives, which apparently it's been working. People have been doing it. It's only been a few years, and it's now the mainstream topic. So certainly everybody is doing a good job. Everybody should pat themselves on the back and not feel like we're in a slump or in a rut like a few people have been telling me, because we're absolutely not. We're, the snowball is picking up speed and picking up size. It's rolling down the mountain and it's never going back up. So just keep pushing it. Doing a great job at it, and don't despair. This is the grassroots movement. This is the revolution. I mean, if you really think about the repercussions of what will happen once this becomes 100% known throughout humanity, we're going to see positive change on the level that everybody would love to see, and it's going to happen through the vehicle of the flat Earth.
Yeah.
So we just got to keep at it.
Exactly, mate. Totally.
I totally agree too. That snowball is rolling downhill, and there's nothing people can do about it. You might be able to nudge and deflect it in a certain direction. Sometimes you at least have that feeling that you're making some positive contribution, but now it's got such a momentum on its own, there's no stopping it. And all these people that, for a lack of bravery or maybe still not, wanting to come out, they will come out. Once this gathers even more momentum, even these people are going to have to join. There's nothing else. Otherwise, they're going to be ostracized and be the minority, and I can't wait for that day.
Exactly.
I can't.
I got a big shift that day.
Sorry, what was that?
There's going to be a big shift that day, because them thinking that they're in the majority is really what's keeping them there in the first place. It's their ego and thinking they know it all anyway. So that's why I encourage ridicule for these people, because the reason that they are so confident or whatever is because they think that they have the superior position of ridiculing you. But if you have the knowledge enough so that you can humorously ridicule people in a playful, nice way, that's going to bring them down and break down their ego and actually get them to think, maybe I have to research this, because I'm starting to get, I'm being the butt of the jokes now. Elissa had the upper hand, or Del really made me look stupid there, and we shouldn't discount that. I mean, they do it to us.
Exactly. We have to play with those tools, Eric. I've always said that as well. We can just use the same tools, use the same psychological tools to affect and play the game the exact same way they play it. And you're right, the tables have turned, and people need that attitude to stand up with confidence and just laugh at the absurdity, because that's exactly what it is. It's totally absurd.
Yep, you got it.
There's a guy here on the island who runs a school, ethnographic school. And I offered him he's ribbed me a little bit about being a flat earther in public once before, about 6 months ago, in a bar. And I was like, I just said really honestly to him, look, you can go sit on the beach at Playa del Carmen and see Isla Cozumel 11 miles away. You can see the street lights, and the whole island is only 47 feet high, And I say, you can prove this to yourself. But he never went and did that. He never went and looked at what the curvature equation is and practiced and looked for himself. He just stayed with the majority, because that's where the smart people are at the moment. They all know it's a globe. Anyway, so I offered him the Jay DeCaspi $10,000 baller challenge, right? Because I'm sure he could use $10,000 for his school. And we ended up having a discussion on Facebook that ended up with him basically threatening to sort of push me off the island. What a freaking bully. What a pig. What an ego fucking maniac idiot.
So
that's what I really want to say to his face, but of course I can't, because he'll smash me in the face probably, because he's 7 feet tall and a man who's very angry about the fact he's been lied to, but he can't face it yet because he's got to wait till everybody else fucking faces it.
Well, I think it's commendable that you would stand up to people like that, but I also have to caution to people that that's also part of the activism, you know, and being responsible to yourself first and foremost, that you have to discern the types of people that you're engaging with, you know, because there's some people who will just have that kind of reaction as you've expressed, Elissa, and I don't want to encourage people to continually put themselves in that position, because there is going to come a point where it will become a physical encounter. You know, there's people out there who are unhinged and can let their emotions boil over, and you may find yourself in that kind of position, which is part of this process. Nobody likes, you know, finding out they've been told a pack of lies and that they've bought into it. So
I recommend
if I get
disengaging. I recommend like soft disengaging with people like that by a bit of ridicule. For instance, you know, it sounds like you were really nice to him and really trying to help him, but he was going to have none of it. So you really just wasted your time and you wasted your emotions. If you knew right off the bat that he's ridiculing you anyway, you know, my reaction to someone like that would just be like, well, have fun spinning on your stupid ball then, you know, that kind of thing. Where instead of trying to get, you know, telling him, well, you can go out to the sea and being all nice like that, just he's not even ready for your you know, being nice. He's not being nice to you. If he's not showing you that kind of, you know, that he's at least willing to look into it, then just laugh at him, you know, and be playful about it too. There's a big difference between the kind of ridicule that is malignant or malicious and the kind that is playful and actually funny and informative. And if people can do that latter one, it's super effective. You don't have to get your emotions involved. You don't waste any time, because a lot of this, you know, we end up arguing with these people and they don't do anything except for believe even more so the things that they thought, you know, in the first place. It doesn't really get to these people that aren't looking into flat Earth because of their ego. You got to take their ego down a notch, is basically what I'm saying. So just laugh at them.
You tell them down from the intellectual stuff.
They're not going to look into it just because. Yeah, tell them you don't have time for them. Oh, you don't know about flat Earth? Okay, have fun on your stupid globe then.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. You can be a hairless monkey spinning on a testicle all you like, honey boy. Yeah. Don't ask me to believe in your shite though, you know.
I'm just leaving breadcrumbs in case someone runs me over with a golf cart. You'll know. It was either the Illuminati or it was someone.
Elissa, but the looks of you would probably just go right under it anyway, so I don't know what you're worrying about, you know. I'm kind of the sort of person, like, I try and do things with kindness, but I can get drawn into it, and so that's what I try not to get drawn into it, because, you know, I was raised every freaking day of my life with that kind of masculine superiority. My dad thought he was a god, so I thought he was a god, you know, and it's so sad for the world that we're all controlled by these idiot egos, making me so depressed. But it is coming to an end. But we allow it. That's the point. You know, again, I just want to speak to that, because people fall very quickly into a victim type mentality, and we have to avoid that as well. These people only play these games when they're allowed to do so, and you participate in them. You know, so people just need to learn that, you know, non-participation is the way to be. Don't play to their games. You know.
If you can feel the energy that they're giving you is sarcastic and negative, and they're not really paying attention or listening to you, then by trying, you know, being nice to them and explaining to them the research and everything, you're taking a victim role. They're looking at you like a predator and looking to pick you apart, and what the next negative thing they can say to you is. Instead of putting yourself in that position, just laugh at them. You know? Don't even go down. They're not ready for you. Their ego's too big to even look at, to be skeptical. So laugh at them for being retarded, and then wait until they're actually ready to not, you know, to be skeptical.
Exactly. It's just a shift. It's all about a shift in attitude, you know.
I've never had a single person come up to me yet and say, you know, you're right, the earth is flat. And it's only because I've been saying it. So I'm wondering, like, is that going to be the 5-year mark or the 25-year mark? I think it's going to be
there's no told you so moment. Nobody wants to go back to the person or people that originally told them about it and just hang their head and give you the victory of like, Elissa, you were right. I don't think any flat earther has ever experienced that or ever will experience that for the exact same reason that people don't want to look into it, because their ego's not going to let it happen.
And that's another point. People need to stop expecting that kind of acknowledgement as well, because you're just going to burn yourself waiting for and putting an expectation that's never going to come. You know, you can just plant the seed, walk away, and that's as far as you can take it. And you know that if the seed's been planted well, they will go off their own back, and before you know it, I'm sure you've experienced it. Many of people here talking about different topics through the years, it was the same type of reaction. Who are you? What do you know? And how would you put? 5 years later, they're now talking to you about it as if they've always known. Forgetting about that interaction. But as I say, I don't look for credits and acknowledgement. Just as long as they get it, that's all I care about.
Well, that's admirable. I want fucking dinner invites. I want bottles of wine, flowers. I want fucking foot massages. I want people to eat fucking dirt.
You're the new world order.
Especially my dad.
I must admit, Elissa, there is a few people I would like to see eating dirt. Yeah, I would rejoice in that as well. Yeah. But I think the normal expectation, should definitely not be that. But there's a few people I'd like to see with their throat choked. Yeah.
Oh, we all. I think we all deserve a wee bit of that for the shit and the pressure and the stress that every single one of us has had to put up with. I don't think there's any of us who would knock back a bit of ha fucking toes,
That's why I got on fucking board. I didn't want to be left behind, But it didn't take me a day, Gav. It took me a long fucking time, and it's because I do have a massive ego. And
did I say a day? It only took me 10 minutes, Elissa.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But no, to be on IFAs the next day, that's impressive, I saw Eric's 200 proofs, and I was like, oh, this guy must be controlled opposition. He's so good looking, And then it took me I didn't go into Eric's work at first at all. I went into the Morgile and Math Powerland, and then after about a month I went into Eric's 200 proofs, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty concise and organized, and I remember picking at it too. I was like, it's not 200 proofs, it's 110 proofs, and some of them are repeated. It took me
which is a valid point. Yeah, there are certain things in there that convey the same problems, right? In different aspects, so I wouldn't say they're necessarily bad, but they maybe wouldn't stand alone as proofs. But what I found very important was to look at the references that Eric gave, right? So there was a whole lot of books on statistic, stuff going a way back, which was for me, a compulsory reading as well.
They're technically not proofs either; they're all just evidences. But I was copying the 100 proofs. Earth is not a globe. Title that was used by Carpenter back in the day, and so I just went into 200 proofs. But it is a legitimate criticism that they aren't proofs; they're evidences.
But at the same time, it is literally a book of endless proofs, because it shows you that proof is everywhere. So I let you off on that point.
I just want to pipe in here, because Execrate 200 in the chat box has made a great point. If an individual comes to the FE, then the individual deserves all the credit. They have had to do the work, as we know. And that's exactly spot on. That's the attitude. You get people come to me and say, oh, thanks, you woke me up, or thanks, Eric. No, I always say to people, look, you had to have the mindset. You're the one who was doing the work and endeavouring. The objective truths are not owned by me, Eric, Elissa, Gav, anybody else. It's there for people to discover, and if you arrive at it, then you have to credit yourself for it and maintain that, because that's the truth. You don't owe it to some idol or what you in your mind some superior intellect. You've done the work yourself, Sorry for butting in, guys. I just thought that
But hugely important, Dale, because if you still have that mindset, then you still have something to dismantle. If you ask me,
exactly.
You're still coming there thinking, Gav's going to solve all the mathematical problems. No, he fucking ain't. So everybody should get it, themselves.
Exactly. I mean, it's not to say that people with their expertise or a particular line of pursuit, like Gav with the mathematics, don't have valid things to bring to the table that you can learn from, because I'm the same. Gav brings stuff, I learn from it. Eric, Elissa, whoever it may be, brings something that you learn from or you get something from, and it's all valuable, But none of it is, the onus is not on one is as an individual to have all the answers to everything. That's just preposterous.
Has anyone heard about anybody's expedition? I read something on Facebook about some group that's done an expedition to Antarctica or is planning one. Does anyone know about that?
I've heard wee bits and bobs. I don't know if it's just a tongue-in-cheek piss take, to be honest with you, Elissa. I'm sceptical, remain sceptical. I'll sit back and wait. I always wonder if somebody like me's been sitting here shouting about exploration. Not that I'm saying I'm owed anything, but it would be nice if people would invite you into these types of discussions or get you involved in it, or even use the platform to get to a wider populace or whatever. So I just treat it as tongue-in-cheek right now. I think a band of merry men going in one particular direction is just a total joke, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know who's going to do what or how we're going to get this more exploration underway. But it is going to take more people knowing the truth before we can really get any kind of resources behind us.
Well, we have the resources. Look at the military equipment just on its own. What else do we need?
Behind us, like behind us instead of in front of us.
Well, it's supposed to represent the people. So that's just the attitude that I take, and it was built by human resource, human time and effort and energy. So by rights, it belongs to the people. It's just the institutions and the governments take ownership. And they do that just because people acquiesce and are apathetic to it, But again, if you could, idealistically have that attitude in the military personnel, they would be saying the same. We don't need funds. We don't need, a big bank account and a PayPal and a Patreon. We have the equipment. It's here. Let's use it. Let's find out what's actually going on and what's there. That's all.
We need the people driving that equipment and commanding that equipment. That's all we need, and then it could happen. But you've said this as well, Dale. My preference would be the North Pole, or what we assume to be some kind of center point, because I think that seems to me to be a place easier to get to, not as big. If we assume things are, in some way, I say mathematically, you can always inscribe a circle around anything. So I could think of it as being some kind of circular containment. But, I think the center point would interest me a lot more,
Yeah.
Several years ago, Rodney Clough, a hollow earther, did an expedition to the North Pole and was turned around by Russian military ships, allegedly. He did interviews saying so. And then you've got Jarl Anderhoy twice going down to the Antarctic and saying similar things. And so we know about the Arctic and Antarctic treaties and how they're guarded. So it seems like at the moment, full exploration is pretty much an impossibility. Though when we get to the point where everybody knows the Earth is flat due to word-of-mouth activism, full exploration is an inevitability.
Yeah.
So what we need to focus on now is still word-of-mouth activism and waking everybody up. The full exploration happens after everyone's awake. It's not the home run thing that awakens them, because we can't do it until everyone's awake. It's physically impossible.
And what's the point if the majority are not aware of the expedition in the first place? So I totally agree, Eric. It's first comes the awareness, and then the action will follow logically.
And that's I think also a very important discernment to make between the people in this movement, because anybody not wanting to get to that same end result, that people are awake enough and then we actually start exploring, if you're still trying to whatever have people talk about this and that and discuss and debate, you know, different models and straw men, then that's the wrong message. So I think that's one of the ways to spot, you know, the disinformation, if you like, you know, and the message is not the correct one. So
exactly. So
Gav, have you got any other professionals who you can drag out of the? I know what you're going to say, Del, but just let me.
If it still helps some people, yeah. I mean, just a couple of interactions I've had. I think I've talked about it. You know, like engineers, so people who do surveying for a living. You know, I think there's quite a few of them that are thinking about it more and more and more. But you know. Again, I'll just keep coming back to it. Everybody's in a place to be able to judge for themselves, and that's what it is we want them to do, because for far too long they've given their judgment, you know, to somebody else and to a different authority, and that's the reason we're in the fucking pickle we're in. So, you know, let's stop that. You know, let's not do it. Yes, I understand that, you know, if some professional comes in, then another professional will say, oh, there's a guy like me, he's looking at it. It will maybe give them that little nudge, but it's not going to solve the problem, you know. It's just a little bit, if you like.
I think that will come. I think, again, that's another part of the inevitability, just as you've just described there, Gav. I always use the analogy of the man in the hill. You know, there's one man in the hill dancing, and he's dancing, you know, daft. No a care in the world. People are laughing and pointing. Another joins in. 3 join in, 4 join in, and before you know it, the whole hill's full of people dancing to the tune of the Silly Man. So, you know.
I was always the first dancer at every gig. You know, I've always been that person.
Yeah, good on you, because things like that will take courage. You know, well, they say, you know, it's kind of like if you've been through some kind of humiliation in your life, then after that you don't give a shit. Yeah, because you've been through it once.
I just hate everyone.
But a lot of people don't go through that necessarily, so that they still have that big problem in front of them, if you know what I mean, that they worry too much about what other people think. And, you know, I always like saying it, you know, it's amazing how quickly people forget you when you're dead. So why the fuck should you make such efforts to make people like you when you're alive, you know? Doesn't make any fucking sense. But people still do it.
Yeah, I hate everyone, so I don't give a fuck if they think I'm a bad dancer.
I don't believe that's true. Elissa, you don't hate everybody.
You're too negative. You need some.
You love us. You love us there, Elissa. Come on.
I love you for. I'm too fucking negative for lots of things. I just tuned in today to check that you guys still have your ears.
You need some love, and you need some kumbaya.
I need some unity, discipline. That's what I need.
So come into the group and we'll sort you out.
Some Operation Realness on this international flat plane of existence. Oh, the scissors! Van Gogh! Van Gogh!
So,
like you said, you know, the disinformation artists can come and lay what they want to lay down. And as soon as they veer from anything that's repeatable, testable, provable, you can put them in that other box.
What's up? What's up?
Well, I mean, I think one of the wonderful things is that this whole, you know, awakening of people to understanding language. So there's been a lot of work, and you see nowadays a lot more in the flat earth about people pointing out logical fallacies, how to spot them, how to avoid them. You know, I think that's been a huge awakening, because if you know that, you can dissolve these stupid globe arguments fairly rapidly. Whereas if you get caught up in that and don't, you know, pull them back to those, you know, initial circular reasonings, then you can go on forever in debates, you know. I find that really encouraging as well, that people are, you know, understanding language and also understanding the pre-spoken language, you know, the very fact that, you know, for a lot of things, all we need to do is point at it. You don't even need to say anything, you know. You know, if I point at a bucket of water, then, you know, people, you know, what else is there to say? You know, I could use a lot of words to describe what's going on, but do I need to? No, I don't.
I think just as you say there, Gav, you know, the highlighting the fallacious reasoning with people is great on a one-to-one level when you're engaging, but you see people then taking that and extrapolating it into a debate type scenario, and it's really not to be applied in a debate type sense, because, as I keep saying, and I'm sure many people agree, there only is one objective reality. It's not for debate. You know, it comes down to making claims, practically demonstrate your claims, or we end the discussion. And that's all you can have, is that kind of discussion with people. So, you know, it's great, I think, on a you know, a one-to-one level, people in their groups, their settings, when they can point out the fallacious reasoning that people are using and articulate that to them. But don't take it and try and go into a debating scene, because you're entering into a falseness right away. It's not for debate, you know?
Yep.
So, listen, guys, I don't know how these are fixed, but Eric, I was going to just open up to the chat box for a wee bit, and we'll just take questions and we can all answer and put our points in if you're up for a bit of that.
Sure.
Yeah?
Right, I'm game.
So, you know, I'm not saying we need to stop the conversation right now, but just people, I'm going to have a wee look at the chat box, and if people have got any questions or any points they want to bring up to, you know, particular people who are here in the panel or whatever, let us know. Go for it.
All right, I'll be back in 5, guys. I'm just going to take a bio break.
Yeah, cool. All of a sudden, the chat box goes silent.
I want to ask Eddie where his son is at with Flat Earth. I mean, you had your son knowing about level water, Del, as soon as he could walk and carry something at the same time. And I know that Eddie's son's, you know, about 6, and I'd be interested to find out if he's heard anything yet at school or anything, you know.
Yeah. No, Eddie's not here to answer that, is he?
No, but
So we'll get questions coming in. Eric, what does your dad do for a job? You know, I don't know what the relevance is here, but you don't even know if you want to even engage with that kind of thing. But
He's a bus driver.
Ooh, one swept and interesting.
And he's not a Freemason, nor is anyone in my family, except for a a great uncle who married into the family, who I don't talk to and don't get along with.
Yeah. Do you get that as well? Apparently, because my mother.
Oh, I get that one all the time. I had offered. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, sorry, mate. Where'd you go for it?
I had offered up the fact that there was this guy that's a Freemason in the family, and then, you know, the disinfo sites, they take it and run with it, and they say that now my dad and myself and I don't know how many people in my family are supposedly Freemasons now.
I'm a tranny Freemason.
But no, he's a.
Well,
I'm a tranny too. This is what was it? This is a fake chin. Did you know that?
Well, yous have got it light. I'm a satanic, baby-eating, Masonic, Jesuit, fucking Satanist. My mother was a singer, therefore I'm part of the Illuminati. I mean, I'm the whole fucking shebang, you know.
Oh, my dad was the Prime Minister of Australia.
Yeah, there you go.
Gav? Oh, he's not here.
Yeah, Gav's not here. Yeah. West Coast Wisdom, Beyond the Magic Earth, thoughts on the legal challenge by Anthony Riley. I've only heard a brief point of this. I'm not actually sure in what it's regards to. Was it something to do with the education system, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. As I said earlier, I think it would be a much more fruitful endeavour for people, parents, to hold accountable the educators, the direct educators for their own children, and question them and have the discussion about the information that's being shared with their kids. I think that would be much more fruitful. But I'm not sure on that whole thing, to be honest with you.
You get your kid picked out of school in 10 seconds. Like I don't think they could. They can't. How would they cope if you were there talking to the teacher saying, look, you need to go and sit at the seaside and measure for curvature?
Yep. Exactly. Eric Dell, Beyond the Magic Curve, what do you think of gyroscopes being used as evidence for flat Earth?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, artificial horizons, which are a gyroscope it's not, artificial horizons aren't digital. They use a gyroscope, and so it wouldn't be possible for you to fly level over a globe without gaining altitude exponentially as time went on.
Yep.
But no pilot ever in history has gained altitude simply by flying level. And yeah, the gyroscope absolutely proves that.
Yep, and not only does it prove it, it's been used with a Cartesian coordinate system, and the geometry that's been assumed is Euclidean plane geometry. These tools, the diagrams, the applications for flight are assuming a level plane because we're using Euclidean principles, plane principles. So obviously, and just as Eric said, it's a mechanical device that's kept parallel with the Earth underneath, and that's where it's calibrated. So
the gyroscope we're talking about.
Yep.
Well, I'd bring in the human gyroscope as well. Our inherent ability to tell whether we're level, upside down, left, right. Spinning. The visible horizon. So I think there's an inherent gyroscopic capability within us.
I never felt better since I left Australia, I tell you.
Upside down.
It doesn't exist. You were living in a non-place, so you should.
That's the other thing. That's the other part, yeah. I'm sideways now here in Mexico, but it's a lot less stress.
What else we got? Eric, congratulations on your children's book. Do you think Disney might make a cartoon movie on it? Haha, imagine.
I hope not. It's full of pedophilic symbolism and whatnot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd fuck that up if we left it to Disney. Don't let that happen, Eric.
Right.
Refuse all offers for making movies, please.
Exactly. A controlled Jack Dunphy. Here's a question for you guys. The flat Earth, a controlled release question mark. An intentional slow drip of the truth, or did the cat get out the bag by accident?
Well, it's like we were talking about at the beginning. The cat got out of the bag by accident, and now they're trying to controlled rollout, make it, distract, disinform, deter, and bring us anywhere but to the truth.
Yeah.
So that whole thing about PSYOP or controlled rollout, it's a yes and no. No, it wasn't originally. Of course, the Earth's absolutely flat and the globe's bullshit. So the PSYOP, the rolled out, is the globe, not the flat Earth. Yeah. But okay, once people are catching on to it, yeah, they're going to have to roll out some kind of controlled opposition narrative to corral everyone from exposing the truth. So yes, there is a controlled rollout within the flat Earth, but the flat Earth itself isn't. Of course not.
Exactly. Totally agree.
So Eric, there's a few people out there who would say that you're the controlled opposition.
Well, I think that's what they're getting at. That's the whole point. They're saying, well, you're the shill and you rolled it out, and you're the head whatever shill.
Right. You're coaching me apparently as well, Eric. You're on the phone to me telling me what to say. Oh, great one.
Oh, wonderful.
I heard that clip too, by the way. I'm pretty sure that was a clip of me from some other interview that was playing on your computer. It was whatever. That wasn't live. That was.
Oh, it was just anyway. It was just taken from one of your interviews and then fucking spliced over the top. Just lunacy. Right.
Yeah, it didn't. I don't even know if it happened the way they say it happened or if he's the one that spliced it himself. But what I'm sure of is that the clip itself was an old clip. It wasn't something that happened at that time. It's just more stupid accusation.
To bring it back to a serious tone, so I can only speak for myself in this matter, but the very fact that I know I made an active choice to come out and speak what I deem to be the truth, and to push it as far as I can go, shows that there is no element of control. Sure, they'll be trying to contain Pandora's box, but it's definitely open now. Because you're not the only one, Eric, that opened his mouth. There's lots of other people doing it now too. So, and that's, I think, definitely we can see the PSYOP, being played out now, trying to put it back in the bag or make us all go concave. We need to go.
You know, I see that part of the psyop, if you like, of the propaganda is these people who they'll elevate like you, Eric. They'll put you up there on a pedestal, and then they'll just make these stories and accusations up. When it's not you that's professing these things, it's the surrounding propaganda agents who are, you know, rolling that bullshit out and saying, well, Eric's a flat earth leader and blah, blah, and making these fucking stories when I've never seen that kind of attitude. So, you know, do you drink your own piss?
I've never tried that, I must say.
You're supposed to be a skeptic, Eric. Come on.
I am skeptical of it. That's why I've never fucking tried it.
Try it, Eric. Try it. I challenge you, Eric, to drink your own piss right in front of you.
Right.
I wanted to start using piss as a facial toner because I got so many negative comments saying I look like a meth head after my Neil deGrasse Tyson video, but I couldn't even like hold the jar to piss in it. I mean, and not until I'm really close to death would I drink my own piss.
Yeah, it's no something.
I don't think it's some miracle heal-all solution like the people that do it seem to think it is. At best, I think there may be certain topical, you know, ways to use it, or maybe specific things like when you don't have a clean source of water, something like that. But as something that you should do as a daily practice, I really don't think that something as disgusting as that was necessitated by the intelligent designer to keep our system healthy, that we have to drink, you know, a gross liquid that we you know, oh no, it's not gross, it's purified. But no, I don't think it's necessary to, you know, to be of optimal health. I think at best it's just maybe some medicinal remedial thing that you could do if you have certain issues.
If you get stung by a jellyfish, then get somebody to piss on you.
Exactly. Or if you're stuck at sea. Yeah, if you're stuck at sea with no water.
Or your arm is stuck between two boulders for a week.
Yeah, that's it. Quantum Eraser, love the show there. I disagree that it's not worth debating. It shows everyone that the Baltard religion is laughable and exposes them as pretender clowns. Well, I agree to a certain extent, and I've encouraged people to sharpen their tools in regards to some of the clowns who are the Globe disciples who just regurgitate the same thing over and over. It's useful to the individual to get a feedback and to clarify things in their own mind. But then it gets to a point, well, what's the purpose? You know, and for somebody like me, I displayed that way back and showed an attitude on how to deal with these people and, you know, having a zero tolerance for them. And I don't feel the necessity to continually perpetuate that. It's just a waste of my time and my energy. And quite frankly, it's a fucking bore. So.
Well, I agree. You know, I think to sharpen your sword and to have, you know, maybe, how should I say, these intellectual challenges and understand what argumentation means and, you know, how to debate is definitely, you know, not a worthless exercise. But I just don't see the progress when it actually comes to furthering where we are now and our understanding. That can only be discussed objective reality. So I'm kind of half agreeing and half not agreeing. What I don't like is perpetual debates that don't go anywhere.
Yeah. And, you know, people getting caught up in these things thinking that it's going to achieve something. The only thing it's going to achieve is for you to sharpen your own, you know, understanding of both sides of the false dichotomy, if you like. So it's useful to a point, and then it just becomes pointless. So sorry, people, the chat's jumping. So again, if you've asked a question, you'll have to keep putting it in so that I can see it at the bottom. Meryl Beauregard, man-made Earth? Question mark. How do you get any say that?
Not sure what that means.
He's asking if we think it's a man-made thing, like we somehow brought it into being. I'm only assuming that's what you mean, Meryl.
I find that next to impossible, looking at creation, you know, or looking at all the things that are there, you know. We can't get a fucking signal from one town to the other, but we're supposed to have made all these wonderful things. I find it hard to believe.
No fucking way, man.
Yeah.
I don't even think men are man-made. I mean,
no. Why no tides in lakes? Anybody?
Well, if the thought is supposed to be that the moon's doing it, then it is in fact a very good question why there isn't any. Yeah, so
Exactly.
it's a kind of negative. I think we're being asked to comment on.
I would say that's because they're not connected to the filtration system directly.
Well, maybe in terms of underground water, though, there's a lot of groundwater that isn't seen, right? So, but yeah, I don't have the answer either.
Gravity only likes salt water. Maybe.
Right. Oh, great, Eric. How will we stop the potato crew? I'm just going to offer mine there. By stop giving them attention. If you disagree with somebody, don't give them any attention. But to continue to give them attention and then moan about it makes you an absolute moron. Yeah.
Oh, that hurt.
No,
That must have hurt. What the hell? People need it.
The potato who?
Exactly. I don't go and keep buying a faulty product if I don't like the fucking product. I just don't buy it. I don't need to go and blow up fucking Mazda or Ford just because I disagree with a product. I just don't buy the fucking thing.
Eric, I see there's some people
ignoring them into irrelevance would be my answer.
Eric, there's some people in the chat saying you need beefened up. That we should be giving you a fish supper. You're too skinny. Have you anything to comment on?
Yeah, I do. All those people know that I ate meat for most of my life, and I've never been meatier than this. This is the size I am at, regardless of what I eat or how much I eat. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm not this size because I'm a vegan. I'm this size because I'm Eric Dubay. I've tried. Adele and I talked about this before. We had a talk about lifting weights and eating different diets. I've tried every diet under the sun. I did the keto diet, the Atkins back in the day when they called it that, and I was eating low carb, high fat, 6 meals a day, and weightlifting, trying to put on weight, trying not to be the way that I am, and eating unhealthy and lifting weights every day. I managed to put on 15 pounds, which you could barely notice in the mirror. It didn't even look like I'd put on any weight. And I ended up getting tonsillitis from, I figure, from all the things I was eating. My throat clenched up to the point that I couldn't swallow anything that wasn't liquid for over a week because of tonsillitis. And previous to that, I'd been eating 6 meals a day of meat and eggs and dairy and just anything I could, protein, getting my protein, trying to bulk up, get some mass. And like I said, after a year of weightlifting and bulking up, I got 15 pounds. And then after a couple of weeks of tonsillitis, I lost the 15 pounds. and I lost all will to even bother trying to put on mass again, because I know how, it's an unhealthy process to do it in the first place. And it doesn't really change my aesthetics in any way. I'm just a skinny, lanky dude, and I'll be that way regardless of what or how much I eat.
I think it's sad when people try and pressure each other for aesthetics as well. And we have genetics, and genetics play a huge role in these things. And nobody has the perfect standard of what we should be anyway. So for me, I think it's just fucking irrelevant. And stop trying to give Eric a complex, because I can relate. I was a lanky, skinny bastard through my whole teen in my 20s, and I had a real complex about it. So I went to great lengths to try and beef up because of that type of pressure. So, why no motion sickness? Have we got any questions with real meat and bones? Come on, people.
Because there's no motion.
Exactly. Thoughts on the taught the line experiment?
Well, that's the one, definitely. I think with fish gut going through getting pulled taut and the catenary curve not being accounted for. Yeah, I think that's just useless. Absolutely useless.
Get a bunch of money for a stupid experiment that at best will prove the globe because of it. Like you said, the catenary curve, when you pull a line taut like that, before it will become perfectly taut. So it will always have a droop, which will confirm a curve. So you've got these, what was it, FE Corps or Globebusters or whoever's trying to get money for this experiment, which is is going to prove the opposite. So again, look at who's trying to take your money and for what, and is that a genuine thing that they're doing? And if not, well, red flag, take note.
What I'd like, I'm sorry, on you go.
No, I was just going to add in quick before you go. For me, again, this bullshit, you know, why are we trying to measure water? You know, and that's the accurate fucking tool. So it's just preposterous. Sorry, Gav.
No, it's all right. You know, that's a super valid point. What I'd like to see is more experiments, you know, proving, you know, how common sense shows us where we are. For whatever reason, I got a wonderful video on my feed with two balloons. They must have been about, you know, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 5,000 feet high with a rope attached to them. And a guy obviously had a parachute in his back as a backup, but he decided to walk along the tightrope between these two balloons, you know. And I mean, you know, if you just try and think of the absurdity of having to do that on a ball spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, you know, or the fact that, you know, we're capable of actually doing these things, you know. I'd like to see more of that, which for me just as easily disproves the globe as anything else. You know?
Why haven't we felt these wobbles that we're creating? Right, humans are creating, we're making the Earth wobble more. I mean, aren't we feeling that? And the other thing, what's it called? Uniform circular is a physical property that states that acceleration in, motion in a circle is constant acceleration. So when people say that you wouldn't feel the motion because it's constant velocity and you only feel acceleration or deceleration, well, motion in a circle, you know, around a sphere would be constantly accelerating. So we should feel it, just like if you were on a merry-go-round, you can feel that. So it's not a valid excuse for them to say that, oh, it's a constant, it's such a perfect constant velocity that nobody in history has ever felt the slightest, you know, westward breeze, but we can feel, you know, a 1 mile per hour eastward one, no problem.
And what's correcting the wobble? You know, as soon as you start to push it off that wobble, what's correcting it again? It would just continue to spiral into a never-ending, you know, hyper state of wobble. You know, it's ridiculous. It's like, you know, it's like Neil deGrasse Tyson and his thought experiments. What would happen if the Earth stopped spinning? Oh, everyone would shoot forward at 1,000 miles an hour. Hell, man. Can we have any less daft questions? I don't know. Yeah.
Religion hasn't come up yet.
What about the ISS, the way they cast it like a fisherman into Earth's gravity, so that it's actually just being, it's being pulled by the, I don't know where it is, but, you know, it's in that geostationary orbit, which is how it goes 17,000 miles an hour forever, for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's constantly falling around the Earth. Yes, believe me when I say these wonderful words. There was actually, I don't know if you that link, that guy, that PhD in, was it anthropological sociology or something, trying to explain why flat earthers tick the way they do. There was a few good wee clips in it, right? But especially of little boys talking to their dads at a rocket launch, and all the kids going, look dad, it's coming down again. You know, daddy's trying very hard to, oh no, it's constantly falling around the Earth, son, you just don't understand it. No, dad, I can fucking see it, it's coming back down. You know, I thought that was really good.
Oh, that's priceless.
And children are wonderful that way, right? You just can't pull the wool over their eyes. You know, they'll call a man naked. You know, the king has no fucking clothes. You know, so well, I like that.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's quite good. Dale, can you ask Eric his thoughts that air pressure could be evidence of an enclosed system?
Yeah, as well as you know, water. I mean, water and air pressure do attest to the fact that we're most likely in an enclosed system.
Yep.
I would.
Yeah, and that's why we always talk about that. If people are postulating that we exist in a medium like a vacuum or water or whatever it may be, then it must be contained in some way. Bill Flat Earth Florida question, Dale, Gav, Eric, and Elissa. How much effort, time, and money might be needed for a group of individuals to arm a decent rocket with the best cameras and send it straight up?
already been done.
Yeah, it's always been.
Has it been done independently though? How much would it cost? You know,
Not a clue.
Something that I would like.
Has anyone ever found out who made that dog cam footage? That was the original footage that completely blew my eyes open. And I couldn't believe I was 45 years old or whatever, and I'd never seen the flat horizon and the sun in the picture. The sun, which is supposed to be 93 million miles away, leaving a hot spot on the flat planet, you know, plane. That dog cam footage did it for me, and so I wonder who released that and what was their purpose, and that was amazing to me.
I think what Bill's referring to is, you know, something that I've maybe put forward about, you know, sending a rocket independently, you know, done by people like ourselves, straight up as far as we can get it to see if it comes into contact with, you know, whatever may be up there.
Like that little toy one, but who did that footage and what the hell was that? You know, that thing that apparently hit the friggin' dome. That was a really interesting bit of footage, but nobody ever came forward to sort of claim it was theirs or what they were trying to prove by showing it.
Yeah.
And then you've got Mad Mike Hughes, so the rocket's being done, you know.
Well, I think it would be something I would like to see. I would like to partake in something like that, just to see what's actually up there. And how far it would actually go. FPV Angel, what does the panel think of a technological underworld being hidden? Have you considered technology being responsible for the luminaries?
Anybody like to go first?
The old hologram moon, the old hologram moon speculation. I tend to think the luminaries are all natural products of, you know, just like the Earth is here naturally. I don't think the Earth is being projected by holographic technology underneath us, and I don't think anything in the sky is either. I think it's all just natural, you know, reality. I highly doubt that there's some huge scheme large enough and technological enough to project stars and moon, sun, and if that's what they're getting at, I assume that's what they mean.
I think I would say the same. I think everything can come down to something substance-based, something tangible, and it's just a matter of figuring that out and discovering it. But I'm certainly not going to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, it's projections from the North Pole. There's a big fucking projector at the North Pole that's projecting the sky. I mean, I don't know.
Well, let's sort out where we are first.
We don't exactly. We don't know anything about the lights in the sky, so why make up implausible theories about them coming from technology underneath us? How about just not knowing and being cool with that?
Exactly. It's always a problem that people seem to have.
I know.
You know, it's like, well, we can just say we don't know, and then we can progress and try and find out. You know, let's just stand there, start from that point without any nonsense, and carry on forward. You know.
No, we need ridiculous theories, and we need to put them and debate them and all this. Yeah, but maybe it's true, Del. There is technology underneath the Earth that projects, and if you don't admit that that's maybe true, then you might be a gatekeeper, shill, and you're not allowing this truth out. So, yeah.
Exactly. That was the point I was just going to make. Well said. It's like,
yeah, if we're not speaking about it, we must be liars.
That's right. You're just trying to cover up.
Where's the logic in that?
Yeah, you offer an open platform, and you read these things out. You let the people say them, you know, and then you're saying, well, that's fine. I listened and I heard your postulation, but let's just go and find out, shall we? Oh no, you're a gatekeeper. Oh, how? I'm saying, let's go and find out. No, that's not good enough. Yeah, bizarre. Jamie Brown, I think it's good to speculate a bit as long as you disclaim that. Well, that's it, Jamie. It's been said over and over. People can think, and I have contemplations. I'm sure Eric, Elissa, Gav are the same. We all sit in our fantasy and imagine and try and perceive what it possibly could be, but that's as far as it can go.
Yeah, I would discourage no man from metaphysical conjecture, but please don't peddle to me as if it's an objective truth. Exactly. That's the only thing I ask.
Yeah, when I tell people it's a religion because there's no scientific natural proofs for the globe, They get angry. That is the best thing you can say to them, because that triggers them more than anything. I mean, you lose all your friends and family, but you know that you are actually getting through when you say that, because nobody wants to admit they're religious, do they?
No. No.
I know you, Del. What about Brian Mullen? Like, do you reckon he sits at home these days and just watches Flat Earth stuff and just has to sit there with his mouth shut? Or do you reckon, I mean, how the hell could you shut up about this stuff after you'd been out there as a professional? How could you go back to being silent?
I don't know. I can't speak for Brian Mullen, but I'm sure that he goes about his life and speaks whatever. Again, I don't think Brian Mullen's the be-all and end-all of any of it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a difference between not speaking publicly and privately. I'm sure he's still privately a flat earther and speaks with people about it in his private life. He just doesn't have a YouTube channel and a public presence because, if I remember right, the reason he's not doing that is because he was given an ultimatum by his job that if he continued, that he would be out of a job. So, you know, makes sense that he would have stopped, and that's if he's got a family to take care of and whatnot. And I'm sure in his own way he'd continue personal activism privately.
Yeah.
Just so glad we've still got you, Gav. It's a joke, Del. Relax.
Sorry, I missed that. I was too busy reading the chat box. Sorry.
I'm just saying, I'm just so glad we've still got Gav. Gav with his 2 degrees. I mean, you've got a fucking 2 yoga teachers and a bloody tattooed monster.
Thank you very much.
And a fighter. And an MMA fighter. Del, you're a good monster. Don't worry. You're a monster in the best sense. You are an absolute monster, man. Without your weekly bringing us back to this and your absolute dedication to reducing it constantly to what it needs to be, it's been a wonderful thing for me.
Oh, cheers. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's always nice. Nice to be appreciated.
Okay, I think the whole community appreciates it.
Kiss the hand.
But hey, listen, guys, to tell honestly, a globe cult education means nothing.
No.
I'd just like to reiterate that.
That's so true.
We've got somebody asking, Vortex Puppy, why does a helium balloon rise instead of compressing due to the outside pressure and staying put?
Well, it's relative densities, right, of the different substances that we're talking about. As far as my understanding is that these gases that are basically lighter than air will rise to the top of the atmosphere, whether it's, you know, the noble gases like, you know, neon and xenon and radon and all those things. And, you know, helium is one of those things that's lighter than the ambient air, which is a mixture of all these gases, and it's going to rise up according to its relative density.
And I think people's attention should be more on why the fucking clouds sit where they sit.
I like that. Liquid air. Air liquid.
And clouds going like this across the sky while we're doing 1,000 miles an hour.
Nope.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any other questions. Do you have any thoughts on comments on lava? Can stones melt into liquid form?
Not sure what that has to do with flat Earth. People bring up volcanoes and plate tectonics and earthquakes all the time and ask me, how do those work on flat Earth? To which I always say, however, earthquakes, plate tectonics, lava, everything works on a Earth with curvature.
Yeah.
They work exactly the same on an Earth without curvature. It doesn't require a special explanation just because the Earth doesn't curve. All these things are exactly however they would have been otherwise, but they think that it's so different now because the shape's changed. So we need this whole new science or whatever to explain how earthquakes can happen and volcanoes because of the molten core. The lava is coming straight from the molten core up through the volcano. I think that's what they think. And then they're like, so if there's no molten core, how do we get volcanoes?
Exactly. It's amazing the amount of red herrings that people bring forward in regards to the question of where's the fucking curvature of the fucking earth? Where's the practical demonstrations of the globe claims? Oh, how does this work and how does that work in a flat? And I don't give a shit about what's going on in the sky or what's underneath us or any of that stuff. Where's the fucking curvature? Where is the bendy water? You know?
I think people also forget that asking someone for an explanation isn't an argument.
No.
Anytime these globe cult people, they get backed into a corner, they go, well, explain this then. Explain that then. I don't need to explain. That's not an argument.
Exactly.
You want me to teach you? Shut up. I've been teaching you, but you've been arguing. Suddenly you want me to explain stuff? It's not to what
I had a friend this week, or when there was a hurricane coming through last week, and she was like, there you go, hurricanes, eat dirt, flat earthers. and I was like, I found this really excellent little video on YouTube of a person stirring a bowl of porridge. And as you drag the spoon around the center of the pot, the curves on the northern equator and the southern side of the equator in the bowl of porridge spin in the same direction as hurricanes do. So I was like, maybe you need to eat porridge.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's so right. When they're like, well, then how does this work and how does that work? It's like, look, I'm not God. Well, I am, but I'm just a small part, and it doesn't know everything. But, you know, what we are talking about is what we do know, what we can prove and share with each other.
So, say people are here's an eyes, that's just a troll. So Dubai doesn't think FE needs to be explained. No, we just don't have to explain your utter nonsense. You know, what you need to offer is not an explanation. We're not interested in your religious rhetoric. Practical demonstrations of all claims that are being made in regards to objective reality and the substances within. That's it. So explanations, I can explain, you know, how a unicorn pulls its own head out its own ass on a Sunday morning at 3 p.m. It doesn't make any difference, or 3 a.m., whatever. Explanations are useless.
But, tell me how this warp drive works. Tell me how the warp drive works.
Oh, what's underneath? What's underneath?
And if you can't answer that question, you're wrong about the flat earth, right?
No. They think if they get you on a gotcha moment that you have a question you can't answer, that somehow gives validity to their absurd beliefs. You know?
Right.
Are you going to contribute to Anthony Riley's GoFundMe?
Nope.
What was his GoFundMe?
Is it again? I have to know what it's about.
Something about legal something, education, or is he getting his course paid for him? His legal degree. I don't know what it's about.
I don't know. I'm in the dark. I mean, I couldn't answer any of that.
Let's just stay away from that.
Yeah.
Does anybody really need money to do activism? Is it that difficult?
I know.
Is that what we need to donate money to a bunch of people?
Exactly, mate. This is my problem.
The truth needs to be monetized.
Exactly. He's monetized, and he's a committee and a group with hugs and.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
And PR.
I'm the trustworthy one with money, okay? You should trust me with the money. Give me the money. I'll buy some fucking paddle boards and we'll work out how flat the earth is.
If everybody chips in and buys me a nice motorbike, I'll drive to the edge of the earth. Right?
Everybody's trying to come up. See, you notice it with the questions is everyone wants that one home run flat earth proof, and they're willing to donate money to anyone willing to ask for it and do that one thing. Oh, it's a torque the line. Oh, it's yet another balloon, or whatever the heck it is. And then the people that are donating the money more than likely aren't doing something else, productive. But most people that give to charities, the reason they give to charity is to relieve themselves of the guilt of not you know, helping the world or whatever. So they just give a little bit of money to some charity and they're like, okay, done with that, which is what I think most of the people that would donate to any of these flat earth causes are doing. So instead of actually being active and doing your part, like we've been talking about this whole time, about individual activism and talking to everybody you know and making it your mission, being like a flat earth missionary, if you were doing that, I doubt you'd be like checking out like, oh, Anthony Riley's got a new GoFundMe. What's his experiment? I honestly didn't even know. If he's the guy I think of, he calls me a shill and makes videos about square earth and shit. So no, I'm definitely.
I'll be donating.
I do think it is a part of people appeasing their own conscience. Yeah, as you say, Eric, and looking. I mean, it's a bit like religion, like paying when you leave the church, right? You know, for your sins, and you know, in the hope that at some point in the future, you know, oh, I did my bit. I paid. I threw in £1. You know, fuck off. That wasn't enough. Get the fuck. You know.
I learned my lesson the hard way too. The only time I ever donated to a flat earther, I gave $200 to Jaronism for a video of his laser experiment, which he needed after he got the donation for the laser, and he promised to do a test run first so that he wouldn't waste the video money, and he didn't do the test run, and so he had the videographer come, wasted the money, messed up the laser experiment, and he said he would pay me back too, and you know, 3-4 years later, that's never happened either. But not that I care, but I did learn a valuable lesson that I hope everybody else can learn, is don't donate to Jaron or anyone else for their home run experiments that aren't doing anything. As Del says, we got the water, you know, it's an abundant element that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt what we're living on here. So why are we looking for these home run proofs, and why are we spending all this money going after them when the proofs are already there? That's not what we need. We need to spread the word.
Exactly, mate. Individual Perspectives asking, can you ask Eric if he's able to travel abroad? I'm wondering if he has any plans to take his message on the road.
I'm able to travel abroad, though I'm weary of doing so, crossing borders and whatnot, as well as we're meeting people, and I get regular death threats, so I don't fancy doing any sort of pre-scheduled event where it's known that I'll be attending, so that some spooks can come and, you know, find out more about my life or whatever, and try to make it more of a living hell.
But
so,
again,
no,
again, the onus is not on you either, Eric. It's not on me, you, Elissa, anyone. Is just because we're here in the public eye, people think they have ownership somehow, and they think that you should fill their expectations. Well, you know, that's just nonsense. We can only offer up what we offer up, you know, as individuals and where we're at for each moment in time. If somebody has a plan or they think they've got something to offer, don't ask and request somebody else to do it. You just do it. That's it, you know. But again, it's this expectance and ownership just because you're a public figure or you put yourself out there in the public. It's absolutely preposterous.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody can do meetups or conferences or anything that they expect me to do. I'll let you know that I'm pretty busy. I have no lack of ideas or stuff that I'm doing. Like, but I tend to think the people that bring the ideas to me probably done less for the flat Earth than me, and so I recommend that they go ahead and do that idea that they've brought to me. Yeah, that's it.
Totally agree.
You don't need to go on a tour when you've released several books and many documentaries and many interviews. It's like you can sit on your ass and that person has it all fucking home delivered. So that's when it becomes like evangelism or a rock concert, you know?
Yeah,
exactly.
Spirit of Longthorn, Robbie Davidson, thoughts on his journey to FE via God, Bitcoin and conferences. Also why the Flatterati are drawn like moths to his flame. I don't really know much about that guy, to be honest, so I'm not going to offer anything here. We don't offer anybody else.
He's the one that sets up
all the
conferences,
right?
Yes, he sets up the Flat Earth International conferences. So he's part of that whole potato crew.
Making heaps of money off off anyone they can steal the energy from. They are fucking vampires. That's what I learned working for David Icke. These people know that there are thousands of people out there who want to help, who won't get off their ass, they won't be ridiculed themselves, and they will gladly throw $50 at a problem rather than put themselves in the firing line. And these people suck that money until it's dry, and they get fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars out of people, and then nothing happens with the money, and everybody feels let down, and it's fucked.
Yeah. No, I'm not seeing anything else coming from the chat box. No, I'm just going to take my attention away from that right now because I'm getting, you know, stars in my eyes before I can try to read it. So.
Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning here in Thailand, so speaking for myself, I think I'll be wrapping it up.
Yeah, me too, Eric. I was just about to say the exact same thing. I was just about to thank everybody. It's been a real pleasure having this chat. Hopefully we can do it again sometime in the near future, you know.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Eddie, for coming too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's great hearing from him. Good talking to you again, Del, Elissa, Gab.
Yeah, so I've enjoyed the chat as well, guys. Thank you very much, and girls.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to everybody in the chat box and people watching as well.
Absolutely.
Again, you know, hopefully we can. Again, I just want to put it out there. We can have these discussions, chats anytime. Anybody can contact, and we can get together and have a discussion about whatever. You know, maybe in the future we can talk about a specific topic, maybe consciousness or, you know, centered around something like that. I would definitely be up for that. Whatever it may be, I'm just offering that up as a possibility. But it's been a pleasure having you here. So.
Right on. Yeah. Thanks for setting this up, and thanks for doing your weekly hangout, Dal. It really helps have a consistency, and you bring everything back to that same fundamental message. I think you're a real asset to the community. Appreciate everything you're doing.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, guys.
Into yourselves, everybody. Yeah.
Thanks for being our authority.
Fuck off. The go-to guy, yeah, for mass.
Go-to guy.
Fuck off. Yeah, take care, everybody. See you all soon.
Cheers. Take care, people.
Thanks, Del.
Right.
See you very soon. Everybody in the chat box, people watching, thank you very much. As I say, as of next week, I should be back on the main channel. I think the band's up on the 2nd. So obviously I'll be putting the advert up there for people, and just to remind people that I'm going to be turning this channel into a homeschooling life experience type channel, and I encourage people, if they've got anything to offer that they think may be useful, to contribute to it. And that's pretty much it. So again, everybody, Eric, Elissa, Gav, Eddie, thanks for coming on. Take care, everybody. Mods always appreciated in the chat box. I will see everybody very, very soon. Take it easy, people.